You are the true queen, Rhaenyra. First of her name, protector of the realm. I am meant to serve you, and all of these with me, until death, or the end of our story.
Welcome to the Unreal Hour.
Hi there, and welcome back to part 2 of our episode covering the Red Sowing and the Queen Who Ever Was. Although we are firmly into the Queen Who Ever Was at this point. So let's just jump straight back in.
So, what do you want to talk about next?
Ooh, let's talk about... You know what I really want to talk about. But let's get Jace and Baela out the way before we talk about what I want to talk about next.
Who's Jace and Baela?
No, Jace and Baela's scene was great. I loved it. I really did. She was like, she's so cool.
My notes say, this girl is a voice of reason like her grandma, wise and strong. Absolutely love her character and how well she's acted.
She is. She's great. And at this point, I feel like Baela's kind of been more a side part in other people's stories.
Yeah.
We haven't had a chance to get to know her. Like, what does Baela
What makes Baela tick?
What does Baela do on her day off?
Yeah.
You know, when she gets an hour to herself, what does she like to do?
Yeah, how does Baela kick back?
Exactly. I want to know more about her. I like her. She's cool. She's feisty. She's got all sorts of Rhaenys vibes. Yeah, I'm hoping next season we get to see a lot more of her. But this scene in itself was great, so shall we have a listen?
Yes, please.
It does not befit a prince to pout.
Oh, you tell him, girl.
I'm not pouting.
Yes, you are.
I genuinely thought that in the scene when it's
really?
the pout.
Yes,
While your mother waits.
it was a brilliant pout,
It was
actually.
really good.
You're angry.
Aren't you?
I don't see what good it would do.
They are an insult to us. To what makes us Targaryens. If any common lout can ride a dragon, then...
That does not make me common. Or you.
You know what I am.
I don't care. You are the crown prince. The son of the rightful queen. And here you are sulking. Because you believe that if not for the dragon or the trappings of your station that you are nothing. Do you believe that you are the first noble heir who was not sired by his noble father? Such is the way of the world, Jace. And in resenting it, you only diminish yourself.
Easy enough to say. I've heard the whispers the whole of my life.
Then prove to them that you are worthy. Get up and take your place by your mother's side.
And for God's sake, stop whining.
Yeah. You can kind of see it from his point of view when it's been his whole life that he's been called a bastard, and then suddenly all these bastards are so important, and the only thing he had to cling to was, you're a Targaryen prince.
Yeah.
Well, that's scuppered, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I mean, like, what's the difference between him and Hugh Hammer?
Yeah, exactly. Like, devil's advocate. And the side I actually agree with is Baela's right. If you're just going to wallow in your own self-pity, you're never going to move forward. You're just going to be a sad, pouty boy. And you're not. You're a prince. Own it. Stop whining. Get off your ass.
Not just a prince, the crown prince.
Yeah.
Like, you are heir to the throne, mate. You have got everything laid out before you. And if you walk about doubting yourself, then you are just going to give all those other people that silently doubt you the ammunition that they need.
He is literally the definition of the luckiest bastard in the world of Westeros.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, coming back to Baela was right. Do you think you're the first nobleman not to be sired by your father? Your named father, should I say. No, there's plenty of them out there. Jon Snows and Ramsay Boltons and...
Well, they're not born yet, so I don't know if they count.
And let's face it, the nation was built on bastards. There's no way that Garth the Green was married to all those women that he had bairns with.
I mean, the unlucky thing for Jace is the total emphasis on the hair colour.
It is.
So if that wasn't a factor, I reckon like Baela would have a stronger case in the respect that, look, there's loads of bastards out there. Nobody probably knows the multitude of bastards, and they just get on with it. Yeah. They don't even know. But unfortunately, your hang up is on your hair colour. I don't know, get yourself a bad bleach job and move on. Daemon had one in season 1. Let's just go for it.
I needed to swallow, but you made me laugh. That was so hard. Oh dear. Daemon's season 1 bleach job. I mean, yeah, that's definitely one for the record books.
Absolutely. Like, that's 90s Emma bleach job.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe even beyond that, actually. You've seen my hair that colour.
There was a stage when
there's a stage when it melted off platinum. And you had to cut it.
Yeah. That's because you tried to go from purple to platinum, dear.
Well, yeah.
That will fry anyone's hair.
For the record, I'm not bald.
Anymore.
Or at that time, you gave me a great fringe.
No, we're joking. Her hair barely survived, but it survived. Right, so do we have any other thoughts on the teenage Targaryens?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Well, we've not at Harrenhal yet.
We are. Right, yeah, Harrenhal. Let's do this.
Well, it's actually lead up to Harrenhal because it's Alfred Broom and then Sir Simon sort of passing his note on. So it's Alfred Broom toddling off and then Sir Simon going, "Here, ya dick, I'm grassing on you." And then that's what causes Rhaenyra to go, oh.
Right. Well, rewind. And let's talk about Alfred Broom. What a traitorous bastard. Right? In the other sense of the word bastard.
Yeah, I in my notes I had his conversation with Daemon, and I did love the turn cloak phrase. That was great. But in my notes I put Alfred Broom, I need a hero, because he was totally like, we need a king, and I just thought, that's it. That's it. He needs a hero.
He needs a hero.
Daemon, you need to be a hero here.
I'm holding out for heroes.
Yeah.
That's the one.
He's gotta be blonde.
But do you know what I think? Like, honestly, he's so different with Daemon than he is with Rhaenyra. With Rhaenyra, is all sass and in her face, and he's like, "Yes, Daemon. Okay, Daemon. Right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Yeah. He's a totally different man, wasn't he? I love the way Daemon was smirking at him, like, oh, he sees him for exactly what it was. Yeah. But at the same time, you couldn't tell whether Daemon was like,
yes, this is a shout, I'm up for this. Or you're a weasel. Yeah.
I'm just going to hold on to this for now till I've decided what to do with it. Which is, it looks like that is the case.
Yeah.
But yes, let's hear the clip, because I love this scene.
Sir Alfred Broom has come to see you.
I am sent as an emissary from the Queen to ascertain your movements and your intentions.
You've arrived just in time to see my new army, Broom. What do you think of it?
It's very large.
Is it?
Lannister hesitates.
That's what she said.
I end march on King's Landing before he can catch me.
May I have a word in private, Your Grace? I would speak honestly with you.
I'd expect nothing less.
I was faithful to the king, your brother. I pledge my banners to Rhaenyra, his heir. I will never serve the usurpers or the whelps of Old Town. But there are battles to be fought. And in times like this, Did you hear something?
This place will have you barking at the moon.
That is so creepy.
Yeah.
While you have mustered
Brilliant.
an army, Rhaenyra has faltered. Turning aside from our judgment and taking a course I myself deem reckless.
Rhaenyra will chart her own course, for good or ill.
But you are a leader of men. If you declare yourself, your lords will follow you.
I never took you for a turncloak.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Alfred.
Mm-hmm.
Rhaenyra's intentions are good. But what we need, in this moment, is a king.
I need a hero!
Oh, yeah. For those of you who watch your TV at a low volume or don't have subtitles on the screen, the wind just called him a traitor, by the way. In case you didn't pick up on that the first time. The wind just called him a traitor. Like, I am so excited about this. It is unbelievable. And Emma's Bonnie Tyler impression as well. It's on a whole other level. Right. But anyway, like, if the wind is talking to him, then there's only two explanations, but one of them actually rules himself out. Bran, we have seen in Game of Thrones, whispering to the wind, whispering, and Ned hearing it.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure what he heard. There was also a moment with Theon as well. He also talked to Theon, and Theon was more susceptible to it because Theon was out of his mind at the time. So Bran has definitely done this. Bran asks bloodraven about it, and bloodraven says any attempts he had made had failed.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that this is before Bran and bloodraven's time, but they can see the past, present, future, etc. So it could. Maybe it's a previous Greenseer prior to Bloodraven and Bran. But as far as Bloodraven says that he has tried and it has always failed. But maybe he just thought it failed and it didn't. You never know. But because of Alfred Brim's reaction there and the fact that he was like, did you hear that? Did you see? If Bloodraven was watching, he would have been like, oh, he heard me. But he didn't. So maybe it's a future Bran. Maybe it had something that hasn't happened yet. That, they're separate canons. I understand that. But in this cool world in my head where you put the canons together, it's awesome. It could be so cool that Bran is watching this scene from the future and whispering, traitor.
It's not unlikely. Look at Helaena and the things that Helaena sees and her distorted sense of reality because she's just living in the weirdest sort of cycle of, has this happened yet? Is this happening now? Did that happen? Like, what's going on?
She seems a lot.
She's a bit more aware.
Yeah. Well,
now.
Let's not get on it Helaena too soon. But we'll come back to Helaena in a bit. But yeah, there's something to go on there.
Yeah.
But here we are in Harrenhal. I mean, like, Daemon is... It's just so hard to read in that situation, don't you think?
I think he's brilliant. He's really come back to our Daemon.
Yes, definitely. Apparently murdering your wife is redeemable to Ice and Fire fans.
Well, it's in the past.
Water under the bridge.
That was last season. This is not real. This is our escapism. So
it's a redemption arc.
All right, that's a better. Can't even finish it. That's a better.
That's a better. So, this whole conversation is overheard by Simon Strong. And of course, he sends a letter to Dragonstone. I think this was an awesome move. I love it. I love that little timid Simon Strong is just like, nah, fuck this. I'm telling Rhaenyra, like, I'm grassing.
Simon the lurker. Yeah, he's grassing. He's like, nah, not having that.
Nah, definitely not. Nah.
He's good though. He's so smart because he seems to know when is the right time. You know, he's like, nah, actually, that's too far.
Yeah.
Something really terrible will come of this. Not that really terrible things haven't already happened from Daemon discussing things with people, but this one, Sir Simon is like, nah. This is a bit too far for me. Like, does he have some creepy Harrenhal juju that he's like, no, I got a bad vibe about this. Like,
well, maybe.
I'm sorry, my
your
dog
dog's
is
having
sneezing.
a nutty.
Bless you, Maisie.
Bless you. Hi, cutie. So, yeah, what is going on there? Is he tuned into the Harrenhal vibes, to the weirwood net?
He's been there, his whole life?
Yeah, it seems that way.
So surely you would, I don't know, you would have some sort of...
He's certainly been there for decades.
Yeah, like there must be a vibration he has, like, for the place. He must be like, nah, this one's off. That one, innocents were slaughtered and someone had their head cut off.
Mm-hmm.
That one I didn't feel the need to go and grasp. But this one, this sketchy conversation, I think, I'm going to grasp on this one. So there must be something in that he's like, no, this could be
is an emissary from Rhaenyra having a conversation about betraying Rhaenyra. That is, there's no question there anymore about what side Daemon's fallen on. If Daemon he's taken him up in the offer and he hasn't shot him down. So, in his words, he fears treachery. And...
yeah, I think my perspective on it comes for what the outcome of the treachery is. So I'm wondering where Sir Simon's motivations are. So there's just been this horrible conspiracy with Daemon and the Blackwoods. Brackens.
He was conspiring with the Blackwoods to take out the Brackens. Yeah.
Or
to get the Brackens on side.
All these innocent people died, like women and children. It was quite disgusting what happened to them. And Sir Simon, not that he let that slide, but he didn't think that was a...
He didn't tell Rhaenyra.
Yeah, but this one, maybe he's like, it's personal enough to Rhaenyra that she'll do something this time. So maybe he's just picking his battles and the ones that he think he could,
or maybe
sway an outcome.
Maybe, despite Daemon's the Blackwood's despicable actions, it was still kind of winning Rhaenyra's side.
Yeah,
and the other thing was about taking Rhaenyra down, and I don't think it's so much about being 1000% loyal to Rhaenyra. He just fucking hates Larys.
I'd like to think that Sir Simon is a good person and cares for the people because he's a high up guy.
Yeah.
So he's responsible for people within his domain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to think that he's like, I kind of need to look after these people. This is my duty.
Yeah.
So that should be his motivation. I want to believe that's his motivation.
I think he's
a
little
nice
bit of that
guy
there too, yeah.
And I wonder if he's maybe just seen enough of Daemon's shit choices then. Guys, you're going along with my thought process here. So yeah, maybe he's seen enough of Daemon's shit thought processes and choices and went, enough's enough. This is going to result in another mass annihilation of people that are here with me.
There's
now.
been enough backstabbing and treachery in this war so far.
Yeah.
And
I don't want any more. And it's right on my doorstep. And I want the people on my doorstep to survive and to thrive.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough where he is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Without Daemon and Sir Alfred Broom popping in and making it worse. And these are foreigners to him, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're coming here and you're making a mess.
Yeah.
Stop making a mess, guys.
Absolutely.
It's rude. It's bad hospitality.
I just think, to come back to your earlier point, even Larys talked about the bad juju in Harrenhal. I don't think you could live there that long and not feel it.
Yeah.
And not be tuned into something. maybe some dreams. I mean, like, even if you're going back to the original source story, Jaime had some pretty prophetic-like dreams when he fell asleep on a stump of a weirwood. Just being that close to a weirwood tends to give people visions. And I'm wondering if something in a vision told Simon Strong to send that letter to Rhaenyra. Or maybe Alice.
We might have to wind this tangent in, very short one. We can discuss it maybe in a video or in another episode. But I wonder how much of Larys's motivations and choices and the way that he is has come from growing up in a Harrenhal situation.
Interesting. But it was a good tangent. It was on topic, at least. I wasn't telling childhood stories this time.
On fire tonight, guys.
On fire. So, I suppose the next Harrenhal scene we have is when Rhaenyra arrives.
Yeah.
And it's so... No, it's not. Daemon has his dreams before that.
Oh, his Godswood.
Yes, Daemon has his dreams before Rhaenyra arrives. So let's talk about Daemon's dreams.
Do we have a clip?
We have a little bit of a clip, yeah. So first of all, Daemon wakes to find Alice sitting on the end of his bed, acting not at all creepy. And I'm going to play that just tiny little clip there because the scene is so eerie. And audio's even better.
Yeah. This should be perpetually pissed.
Why not?
Do you never sleep, witch?
I'm going to the Godswood.
So as they walk out here, we see this cloven-footed, horned humanoid ducking down behind the tree, which, for those of you that don't know, that was a green man. And I've seen a lot of things out there after this episode aired, people thinking it was a child of the forest or something like that. No, absolutely not. It is definitely 100% a green man. The green men are from the Isle of Faces, which is just there, right next to Harrenhal. And we don't know enough about them. We don't know enough about them yet to be able to say what their motives are or anything like that. But the fact that there was one in this scene is the hugest lore drop that you could possibly ever give Ice and Fire fans in a TV show related to Ice and Fire. You know, it's not 100% canon because it's not in the books, but bloody hell, it was bloody amazing. I'm so excited. I can't cope with how excited I was to see this beast ducking down behind the tree. I'm sorry, I can't cope. Emma, take over.
So for me, I obviously, as you guys know, I haven't read the books, so I'm not up to date on this kind of canon. And in my notes, it said, rewatch this. Lots of exclamation marks.
Several times it said.
Because I didn't understand what the cloven hoof antlered dude was all about. And it wouldn't have mattered if I'd watched it 1,000 times. I still wouldn't have understood.
Yeah.
So amazing that you can give me that information, that's what that is. It's a massive lore drop. So
yeah,
great for me. I'm so excited to dive into that and go, wow.
3 seconds
what are the green men? Where are they from? Why is that green man there? What's going on? This is really cool. And it's literally a 2-second thing. And it's such a big bomb. It's so cool.
Huge
so
bomb.
So cool.
I mean, to get into what we know about the green men would be far too much for this. But that is why our first episode is going to be around the first men, and the green men come into this story quite a lot.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how excited I am to do these YouTube things. Like, I'm going to find out so much. So much. And you guys have got the I don't know if it's a privilege or a curse of me going through reading the books for the first time. So
It's
that's going to be
great.
fun. But I reckon I'm going to have to share that with our listeners as well of how excited I am.
It's going to be great. I'm so excited. So anyway, reeling us back in. Ooh,
look at you go.
Look at me go there. So before we get to Daemon's vision, Alice gives a little speech. Very eerie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's awesome. I mean, first of all, she's like, there are omens here for those who seek it. And then she's like, why aren't you laughing at me? You always laugh at me.
And then she laughs, which is brilliant.
I know. He's like, I'm not inclined to anymore. She's like, ha ha. My, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very intense. So what is it, do you think, that she's seen change in Daemon that says he's ready now?
Oh, God knows. She's watching his dreams.
Yeah,
she's weirwood pasting him left, right and centre. God knows. Who knows? The gods would knows. That's who knows.
Exactly. So
she's getting messages from somewhere else to say, he's ready now.
He's ready.
We fucked with him enough. It's time.
And so he puts his hands on the trees and the blood flows over his hand, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And visually, this was awesome. And here we go. I got the breakdown of this vision. So first of all, we see the tree roots, and which carry over in a bloodraven. It's bloodraven that we see sitting in the weirwood throne.
Okay.
And then we get this direwolf perspective of them traveling through the woods towards the White Walkers. And what was one White Walker and a whole load of whites, which was just wicked cool. It was not the Night King, it was just a White Walker. And while we're on the subject, this does not mean that Daemon is the freaking Night King, despite however many memes I saw trying to tell me that the week that this episode released. Daemon is not the fucking Night King. The Night King existed long before this. The Night King was the Night's King, not to be confused with HBO's Night King, made up by Dan and Dave as a protagonist for the TV show Game of Thrones, who was never in the books. Absolutely. I'm not saying that in the books there wasn't a great other, potentially, right? If the books later revealed there to be some sort of great other out there, then fair enough. But right now, as it stands, the Night King that HBO portrayed in Game of Thrones is not canon to the books. However, there is a character in the books, in the lore of the books, called the Night's King. He was the 13th commander of the Night's Watch, and he fell in love with some icy witch woman that he saw from atop the wall, and they had some sort of spooky magical consummation in which he gave her his seed and soul. And then they enthralled the members of the Night's Watch that were under his command as some kind of like zombie-like slaves. And they were said to be sacrificing to the others. And the Night's King was stopped. It doesn't say whether he was killed or whatever happened. It just said that he was stopped only by the Stark in Winterfell at the time, who's Brandon the Breaker, I believe, and the King Beyond the Wall, Joramun, who united forces to bring down the Night's King. Don't know how they brought him down, or whether they just stopped him, or whether they killed him, or what happened there. It's all very vague in this history.
Was there any dragon glass involved?
There very much could be.
For someone who hasn't read the books and only watched the show, well, that's kind of... Did you steal that plot?
This is all and this all happened at the Night Fort as well.
Right, okay.
Which is the oldest castle on the wall, which is the one that Bran and Sam and that sneaked under through the secret underground tunnel to pass the wall in the main story. But anyway, this guy has got absolutely naff all to do with Daemon.
But the makeup was cool.
It was awesome.
And in this like scene, and also the Night King, I don't care who wrote it, the makeup was cool.
Oh, the Night King guy was absolutely brilliant in Game of Thrones. It was like, despite
was he not some dude that was like, what was he?
He was the said stunt guy or something like that.
Yes, that's it.
When they decided they were casting for that, it was like, it has to be you. It just does. Like,
I love that.
They just took someone right out of their crew and cast him. And he was fabulous in the role. And see, this is the thing about the things that are not canon in Game of Thrones. It doesn't mean that they were bad.
Yeah, you're allowed to enjoy it, guys. I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I'm quite resolute in my heart that that is not the real story. And that would have been better helped by trying to adapt a completed story rather than jumping in at something that's only 5 books into a 7-book plan. So, yeah. They did what they did, and they did the best they could with it. And at the end of the day, they don't have Georgie's source material to work with after a certain point, and they just adapted what they could. They took what
Did George work with them
up to a point.
Right.
Yes, I'm not sure what happened after they ran out of source material.
Okay.
I'm not sure how closely they were working with George at that point. But what I do know is that towards the end of Game of Thrones, George was not a happy man.
Okay.
George was quite depressed and struggling to write.
Okay.
And it was only once the season 8 kind of negativity died down.
It lit a fire under his arse to make it right.
Yeah. I think that's what happened.
He's a human being, it's cool.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there was some great stuff in the later seasons of Game of Thrones, even if it wasn't canon, even if it's for those of us that have read it and theorised are like, no way was it going that way.
It's like anything else, though. Like, you can love a book.
Yeah.
However, when it goes onto screen, sometimes it doesn't translate. And then other times it has to be adapted for screen.
Is it something that's not finished?
Yeah.
Being adapted.
And I think when it's a world, so when it's a world like George is created or like Tolkien is created, or there's many others that I'd love it.
The Wheel of Time guy, whatever his name is.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I digress. The point of it is that you just got to love being back in that world.
Mm.
And as a fantasy fan, I just love being there. And I love all the time, effort and money that's been put into doing that. And I'm just not a negative person.
No, me neither. I can say that except maybe the last episode, but I probably enjoyed every episode of Game of Thrones right up to the end, even though I'm like, oh my God, this is so far off. But there was elements of it that were entertaining, that were impressive, that were, even if it's not what I wanted the story to go.
As someone that hasn't read the books, I also thought the ending was quite shit.
It was.
I felt it was just a bit rushed and a bit pish. And really...
And you didn't feel like that's where it was going for the 7 years before it.
The writing just wasn't... the writing wasn't the same, but it was obvious.
Yeah.
It was obvious to me as someone
There was a lot of stuff that
hasn't...
happened in season 6 and season 7 that also wasn't taken from any George Martin source material that was really good. Like the Battle of the Bastards.
Right, okay.
It was freaking brilliant.
Yeah. That was a brilliant episode.
There was the other battle with when Daenerys and Drogon go and burn the Lannister army.
Yeah.
That was fucking epic as well. The Long Night, except for, Arya saving the day, because that's not the way this story's going, by the way, despite the fact that I love Arya and she's probably going to do some awesome shit. But it's not that though. So there's a lot of things in there that weren't ever going to happen, but they were still entertaining to watch. And so therefore, no dissing Game of Thrones around here. we accept what was shit about it. We love what we love about it. And
but as intelligent people, we understand the George that we love, that we first fell in love with. He had no part really of the way that ended.
No, he certainly did not.
You know, it's cool, and it's like Tolkien stuff. I love Tolkien. I'm totally fine with Rings of Power because he didn't write it.
No, he didn't.
It's an adaptation of his ideas, and I just want to be back there because he's not here anymore. I'm cool with that.
So much about Rings that was just amazing to be in that world. I haven't seen all of the second season yet, so I can't comment, but all I can say is I keep being thoroughly impressed with the visuals within that show. And certainly there's some characters there that I'm like, oh, well, a bit of development. I could get right on board with this character. But at the same time, it's...
You've got to take the bare bones of something, right? So when you love an author and you can tell me what it's about George, right? So for me, I love the description of the landscape. Landscape descriptions are everything in Tolkien. And language. Language is the main thing. He was a linguist and that's what he loved.
Yeah.
So, and he does it so well in his books. So for George, he's a historian and he does love battle tactics.
He does.
And
he certainly does. He occasionally dabbles his hand in a little bit of horror writing.
Yep.
He's a sci-fi writer as well. He loves to draw on mythology and history and the writers that inspire him as well. And he like put all of that together into... I feel like this is George's magnum opus, right? But it's not just his magnum opus, it's the magnum opus of everything he's ever read, everything that he's ever studied, everything that he ever thought was cool as fuck. He's just put it all together.
So in that respect, I think it's fair for fans of George to accept that George is cool with people adapting his world. Because he has adapted his world from other people's ideas. So I'm pretty sure George is like, yeah, no, that's cool. To a point.
To a point.
Like, this show that we're podcasting, you can't deviate from the books that massively without George being like, oh, right, come on, guys.
Like, seriously. Last time, I hadn't finished the books, but this time, I've fucking finished the book, right?
Yeah.
Right? You've not got any excuses this time. This time I finished the book. Then I go changing shit.
Yeah, you're just taking the piss.
Yeah. Anyway,
right.
ran over.
Reel this back in.
Right. So where were we? White Walkers and Whites. And then Daemon is walking through a muddy field of dead dragons and bodies. So we know that this
That's
is
prophetic, isn't it?
It's I don't think it's a literal vision of the future. I think it's symbolic of the carnage that is about to ensue. The dance of the dragons.
Yeah, but yeah.
Many people and many dragons are going to die. Mm-hmm. That is the message here. And then he falls forward into this pool of water, and then what we see is him drowning. Like something's pulling him down.
Yep.
Definitely felt like something was pulling him down. It looks like he's drowning, but he is certainly not dead in that scene. Then everything changes and suddenly it's the future. Mm-hmm. We see the comet. Mm-hmm. That was fucking cool. That comet is so important. Then we see the dragon eggs in the fire. Mm-hmm. These are definitely Dany's eggs. Which brings us to another conversation about how we kind of missed this when the episode was happening. That those eggs that Rhaenyra took with her, there was 4 eggs. So it is implied that 3 of those eggs are Dany's eggs within this canon. This is not the case if you have read Fire and Blood, because it is heavily implied that those eggs were stolen during the time of Rhaenyra Targaryen, who was the first rider of Dreamfire to just give you context of a timeline without getting too much into this one.
Married
this
to
one,
Andrew Farman and blah, blah, blah.
One of the Black Brides of Maegor the Cruel.
Yeah.
But yes, she was, it was Andrew Farman's sister
Alyssa,
who ran off with 3 dragon eggs.
And she was a lover of...
She was definitely.
Yeah.
It was implied that they were lovers, and the story is more interesting from there. So Rhaenyra, Alyssa Farnham, from where she stole those eggs, she headed to Old Town, where she sold the eggs to fund ships,
Mm-hmm.
and then she went off on an adventure. Or did she sell the egg straight away, or did she just get ship passage? I'm unclear about the egg part.
Mm-hmm.
I will edit this as for double checking when I edit. I
think she used the eggs for the ships.
I think she did. I think she used the eggs to fund the ships, and then she went off on these ships. They sailed south, discovered 3 islands, which they named Aegon, Rhaenys, and Visenya.
Mm-hmm.
But there was storms and half the fleet. There was 3 ships that went with them. A couple of the guys on board were, I'm pretty sure there was a Hightower on the ships. The son of the Lord Hightower at the time went sailing with her, and the 2 of the other ships, one of them was completely destroyed. Then they ended up on the Summer Isles, which they kind of got patched up, and then they just headed back to Old Town again.
Mm-hmm.
In which they said that when they left Rhaenyra, she was heading west.
Yes.
And that was the last anybody saw of, not Rhaenyra, sorry, Alyssa. The last they saw of Alyssa Farnham, she was heading west. And many people think that she is Quaithe, the woman that we saw giving Daenerys some weird prophecies in season 2. There's more of Quaithe in the book than there is in the TV show, but she had the weird mask, the metal mask on. There was like little metal squares all over her face. Do you remember her?
Yeah, no. My brain is going with, I'm going to have to read these books, and I'm not sure how the timeline correlates and how she's managed to...
Magic, dear, magic. Remember, Melisandre's 400 years old.
Yeah, but where did she come across the magic to preserve her?
A shy. This is the theory, that she's went from there.
This is why I have to read the books, because none of this makes sense.
And I'll tell you why. Because the ship that she left on, I'm sorry, I'm just showing Emma the picture of Quaithe here.
She's showing Emma the pictures with words with no glasses, which is of absolutely no use or ornament to me.
The reason why they think that that Alyssa Farnham ended up in a shy is because Corlys Velaryon, on his trip to a shy, saw the wreckage of her ship.
Oh, right, okay. Right, well, that makes
shy.
Total sense now. See,
Yes.
This is why I need to read more.
He either saw it or heard of it or whatever. I think he saw it. But anyway, yeah, the ship that Alyssa Farnham set sail on was the ship that Corlys saw.
Fiona drinks wine and she knows things.
She does.
That's why you can hear that large pouring of wine.
So here we are, back to Daemon's dreams. Daemon's dream. This is just one freaking dream. But there was so much in it. So anyway, here we are. So we have Daemon drowning, the comet, the dragon eggs in the fire. Then we see the mother of dragons. We see Dany with her little baby dragons. It was not Emilia Clarke. It was recast just for this scene.
Okay.
And remade. It was not straight out of Game of Thrones. Then we see Rhaenyra on the throne. I just like to, before we go back to that, I feel like this whole vision of Dany is further emphasis is that Dany is the prince that was promised and not the tyrant that we saw in the last few episodes of Game of Thrones. That is what George was always trying to imply in the books, and I don't know how Dan and Dave got that so wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's what they did. Well, maybe because they're nihilists. Right? They're just like, yeah, nobody's that good. Let's just destroy her and make her evil. Because there is a little bit of foreshadowing in those books that Dany's going to do something dark. Right? I don't think it's going to be that dark, and I don't think it's going to be evil. I think she's going to be driven to some maybe dark actions, maybe burning somebody. We saw a little bit of that anyway.
Well, I mean, I know she burns the slavers.
Yeah.
However, it's still murder.
It is.
They're still alive.
She's a conqueror.
Yeah, so those things within a human being's actions are dark.
Yeah.
They're dark actions.
Yes.
And I think that's as dark as her... I haven't read the books, we all know. But anyway, I think that's, from what I can understand, as dark as her character should have gone.
Yes.
I absolutely don't think that she needed to be as dark as Rhaenyra.
No, she did not.
She's not a reincarnation of Rhaenyra's shocking actions.
No, she's not. And we'll get to that, because Rhaenyra hasn't really done anything shocking yet.
No, but she has done all that dragon seed stuff, which is quite shocking.
And in the eyes of... I mean, if we were just reading from Fire and Blood right now, we would be under the impression that Rhaenyra was maybe partly responsible for Blood and Cheese as well. Which House of the Dragon paints her as an innocent bystander in this situation. But the Maesters think that she did it. The people think that she did it. This is where Rhaenyra the Cruel came from. But
Rhaenyra's own actions thus far, the worst thing that Rhaenyra has done is her sort of crazy zealot, I'm going to burn these dragon seeds because I have to have a means to an end type thing. And
absolutely.
That's dark.
It is dark.
That's some dark shit.
Yeah, she was getting all kinds of tingles watching people burn.
Yeah, that's not
last
okay.
week. That was not
And
okay.
I don't think that Dany's character was that kind of thing. From what
wasn't.
I watched, it was just.
She was a revolutionary. She was a liberationist.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Well, it is now.
Anyway, so we see Rhaenyra on the throne.
That was some Sixth Sense shit going on.
Definitely. So we've got Rhaenyra on the throne there, and it takes a wee while for it to come into focus for Daemon that it is Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And I think that's significant because everything's happening so fast in this dream, but there's this moment for Daemon to absorb the message that for all of this, this is what has to happen. It's in order for... It's that message that Rhaenyra on that throne is what will lead to Dany further down the line. And they don't know if Dany's, going to be born in 100 years or next year, right? She could be a future child of Rhaenyra and Daemon for all he knows. They just know that it's going to happen. It's going to happen from their line. But it requires Rhaenyra on the throne. The message was Rhaenyra on the throne, not him. So it's significant. And Helaena says, it's all a story and you are but one part in it. You know what you must do. And that was just all kinds of wicked cool. A lot of people are having this, how is Helaena in Daemon's dream?
Because Helena's in everything. She's in all kinds of times. She's a seer.
She is a seer.
She's a seer. She's a dreamer. She knows... No. She has a consciousness about what is going to happen, and she's living that consciousness in the moment, but coming back to her own consciousness, and that's where she seems dead kooky and weird and like she doesn't have a clue what's going on, because she's just having these consciousnesses. I don't know if that's a word, but yeah, that's the weird thing about Helaena, and she's so cool.
She really is, and she was very, very cool in these scenes, in this episode.
In this episode, I got the feeling that she is starting to understand her power.
Yeah.
That she's going, no, I am here.
She didn't seem confused about timeline anymore, does she?
I think after the horrendous shit that happened with her kids, she's gone into a bit more of a... It's not like just lucid dreams to her.
No.
She's like, wait a minute, this actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
This is happening. And she's piecing it together of when the reality is happening in the moment.
Yeah, that's it. She
Which
doesn't
is really
seem
cool.
confused by the timeline anymore.
Yeah.
Prior to Blood and Cheese, I feel like she didn't know. She knew these things were going to happen. She just didn't know when or how or when they were real or when they weren't. But this, she seems very clear in the timeline. It's very evident in the way she talks to Aemond.
Yes.
Are we done with Daemon yet?
We are. I'm happy to move on to Aemond and Helena's section
I think
of this.
we are. I mean, I got a long... we could probably talk about this stuff that Daemon dreamed about forever. So part 2, Aemond and Helena's story arc throughout this episode. So yeah, let's rewind a little bit. Before Aemond arrives, Alicent and Helaena are having this conversation, and Helena's like, I was happier before I was queen. And Alicent's face is, so was I.
Yeah.
And of course Alicent asks her, what would you think about leaving this place? Where would I go?
Oh.
It broke my heart. I felt so sad for her in that moment. Because, again, it's that thing. She knows the future. She knows the outcomes of the majority of this story, I'm sure. And she knows there's no point.
Yeah, resistance is futile.
Exactly. Like the Borg. That is what that is, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it's Star Trek. Right. Okay, so... so they're having this really sad scene, and then, of course, Aemond comes in and just ruins all the loveliness with his psycho rule tactics, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so let's hear that clip and refresh our memories.
The Prince Regent, Your Grace.
Helaena, there you are. Mother.
I was just going to bed.
The Crown has need of your service.
Now.
The Pretenders raise new riders against us, and we must answer in kind. I need you to fly with Dreamfire to battle.
Aemond.
I do not wish to fight.
Our wishes must take second place now, to what is necessary to preserve the throne.
I won't burn anyone.
It isn't a question.
They have defiled our birthright, made commoners into dragon lords. It is a sin and must be punished.
May I remind you, your sister is still the queen.
As you were once. And you see now what is the consequence of your weakness. We are in peril today more than yesterday.
He's losing his shit.
Totally.
Peril or basest fury at your own humiliation.
Yep, that's it. Humiliation. That's his issue.
7 kingdoms, but you rain ruin and death upon its small folk when you've been insulted. Because it makes you feel strong. And now you seek to corrupt your sister. Of all our line, the gentlest and most deserving of your protection.
Who will protect her if she cannot protect herself?
And who will she be if her mind is broken?
It is no longer our rule that is threatened. Our very lives, would you not have us prevail?
Not like this. Not like this.
You tell him, Alicent.
Yeah, he's just got a mum row.
Definitely. I can't help but I really liked Alicent in the majority of this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. She's just, she's saying all the right things.
Do you think she's come full circle?
I do. I think she sees the error of her ways, the error of her, Rhaenyra calls it later, you yourself made morality your banner, or something along those lines. And that's what it is. She's come full circle around and saw that, she was walking around with a total holier than thou attitude, and truth is she's a sinner herself, and she can now be devil's advocate. She sees all sides.
Yeah.
Now she understands that there was a misunderstanding with what Viserys said, and but anyway, we'll talk more about Alicent later. But for now, let's stick on Helaena and Aemond. I really felt for Helaena in this episode. In this scene? Should I say I felt for her in this scene? What did you think of the scene?
I just think Aemond is absolutely losing it. He's desperate, and he's now picking on his sister.
Absolutely, because he knows that he is now outnumbered dragon-wise. He had the big grand Nana dragon, and thought he could take on any of them. He thought he could take on all of them. And yeah, he now knows that he can't do that. And Alicent's right, he was humiliated.
Yeah.
So he just lashes out.
Yeah, he's coming across as very desperate.
And when you think about like those earlier scenes with him in the brothel, and how when Aegon came in and humiliated him, he just kept his cool and walked away. He's just been keeping a lid on all this for his whole life, and now he can't hold it back anymore. It's just all that rage is unleashed.
Yeah, because he spent his life, you're right, keeping a lid on it, and he actually thought this was his time. He thought, all right, Aegon's down. This is my time. This is what I've been waiting for. I have the biggest dragon it's within my grasp, and then it's swept away from him right before his eyes, and he's desperate now.
Yeah. Or it's about to be swept away from him. He can see it. He can see it coming now. The writing's on the wall.
I think that trip to Dragonstone when he thought, I'm in a rage, I'm going to go and sort this out, and then went, oh, shit. Turn back. Vhagar.
Abort.
From then, he's been like, fuck.
Definitely.
What can I do?
And so, yeah, Dreamfire, the next oldest dragon to Vhagar. Vermithor is the biggest next to Vhagar, but Dreamfire is the oldest. She's 100 years old. We talked about it earlier. We've talked about Dreamfire. Yeah. But she's 100 years old, and she is formidable, as Rhaenyra put it. So I suppose what else could he do? When you think about it, it's the way he's gone about it that's the issue. To suggest, hey, do you want to join the fight, sis? Because that would be cool, and then she could say no, but, he's like trying to forcibly lead her by the arm to the dragon pit there.
Yeah, he thinks that she's weak.
Yes, and she, for what that girl endures on a daily basis, she might be the strongest of the lot of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just to give a little bit more emphasis to how much Aemond's lost it, I've got another little clip here. Listen to this.
It appears that the Pretender sent boats to collect those among the small folk who believed they had any drop of Targaryen blood.
Deception and subterfuge. Cowards, all of them. Put an end to this madness. Let no vessel come or go from our harbour without our inspection.
This will hinder the work of the fishing boats. The people depend on them for sustenance.
They will need no sustenance if they are slaughtered by the enemy. We must all make our sacrifices.
And I think he views that as pragmatism.
Yeah.
That is just, he's so not the right man for the job. I mean, in so many ways, he's better suited to the role than Aegon is. And in so many ways, he's not. If you could take the two of them and maybe mash them together with their best traits.
Oh my God, no. Then you'd have Maegor the Cruel. Oh my God, no.
I just mean that, you saw, Aegon want to be kind. He wanted to give. He wanted to give to the people everything that they asked for when he was still in court. If you could take that part of him, and then the military strategist in Aegon and Aemond in a time of war, then maybe it would be. But unfortunately, no. No, they're two completely different people, and they're both equally unfit for the role.
Yeah.
In many different ways. But yeah, then you'd have Maegor. If you took the bad parts of them, yes, definitely. Yeah. But take the good parts of them, there might be.
No, you might have a Jaehaerys
there
because there's kindness and there's strength.
Yeah.
So there's Targaryen. All the Targaryen qualities are there.
Yes.
However, the bad ones seem to be prevailing with these two boys, and the other issue is they're not ready.
No.
They're not. I mean, Jaehaerys was very young, but these boys aren't ready.
No.
Everyone develops at different rates, and these boys aren't there.
And they were never taught to rule like their sister.
Yeah.
And none of them were taught to rule. I don't really think Viserys was either. No one taught him to rule. He just inherited.
Yeah. He didn't
throne.
Want it either.
He didn't want it. He didn't expect it. And
he was a nice bookie guy.
Yeah. And, you know, his dad was the spare and Rhaenys' dad was the heir, and he never expected to be in that position. He just wanted to, you know, read his books.
Build some models, chill.
Yeah, he probably would have hung out with his uncle, the one that was a septon.
Yeah.
He probably would have hung out with him a lot, read some books. It would have been his, tell me about Valyria, what scrolls you got hidden there in Old Town, you know.
Oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Exactly, yeah. So Aemond, like, totally is just lost. But that brings us to the balcony scene. And Helaena, she was just absolutely brilliant. She is so cool. She just didn't falter at all. What are your thoughts on the scene?
She really put him in his place. I feel she's the only person, it's the only time that we've seen him be put in his place during this period. Even when he was a little boy, I don't recall anyone else putting him in his place like she does in this scene.
No.
And he goes into the scene thinking that he can be manipulative and have another chat with her, because obviously the previous attempt didn't work. Mummy stepped in. He's thought, right, I've lost my shit. I'm going to approach this from a different way. And she just shut him down. And he's like, well, I could kill you. And she's like, but it wouldn't change anything.
No,
and
it wouldn't.
He believes her.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does. Do I hear the scene?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sister, we share the same blood, you and I. I know you wish no harm to anyone. But in a time like this, when the good of the realm depends on us...
Oh, I never noticed how windy it was on the balcony that night.
Our mother is not a dragon rider. She cannot understand that you and I have a true occult heat.
He's absolutely trying to manipulate her there.
Come with me. To Harrenhal. We will lay waste to Daemon and his army. Let our enemies see that we will answer outrage with outrage.
And if I refuse, will you burn me as you did Aegon?
Busted.
That is a lie.
I saw it.
He just doesn't know what to do here.
You burned him, and you let him fall.
What you say is treason.
No, what you did was treason.
Aegon will be king again. He's yet to see victory. He sits on a wooden throne. And you... you'll be dead.
Spoiler alert.
You were swallowed up in a god's eye. And you are never seen again.
I could have you killed.
It wouldn't change anything.
Interesting. Talk about dropping spoilers, though, eh?
Yeah.
Like, that's massive. I genuinely think that the God's Eye thing is such a pivotal marker amongst the people that know the story that they reckon it's out there. It's just out there.
Yeah.
that this God's Eye thing's happening. And even the people that haven't read it probably have heard about it. So, bugging it, let's just get that out the way now. I'm not going to say what that is in detail because this is not a spoiler stream. So, but yeah, we will be having one of those, so we can talk about it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was intense.
It was, and I mean, when you watch the scene visually, it's. I don't recall another time where Aemond where he's teared up.
No.
He's always so clear-eyed and so angry. Well, one-eyed.
I think maybe that time in the brothel.
I don't think he was teary.
I don't think he was teary, but he was...
I mean, he was stone-faced. But this is really shaking him.
Oh, yeah. First of all, she told him what he did.
Yeah,
right?
And she didn't say, Aegon told me.
No,
I saw it.
Yeah.
And all these weird fucking things that she says, this is the moment where he's like, oh, this is creepy.
So yeah, exactly. First of all, she tells him something that he did that nobody else knows. It's just between him and Aegon, and makes it very clear she knows this. She saw it, and then she drops how he's going to die. So of course she's going to be absolutely bricking it because he's like, wait a minute. I'm already freaked out by the fact that she just said about what I did to Aegon, and now like she's telling me how I'm going to die. And that's terrifying.
It's such a great way to like turn things around on him. He's come into it thinking he's going to be all softly spoken and manipulate poor gentle Helaena. And no, she turns it around on him, and he's the one that's fearful. He is poor Aemond in that.
I love the way she plays it though. She's like, she lets him say his part. She lets him, give his softly pitch and everything. Lets him say it. It's like, and what if I don't? Are you going to burn me like you burned Aegon? And she was she just used the exact same calm voice back with him. It was brilliant. I loved it. So good. But he's a dick. It's just, I honestly thought that he was going to push it off that balcony at one point.
I think he's too freaked out.
Yeah, I think he thought about it.
And it's really cool that she's obviously lived it so many times. She's already lived this scene, so that calmness is just, I've already been here. I've had time to process this. There's no emotion that comes from in the moment. There's no rage. There's no fear. There's not even any sort of enjoyment from it.
Yeah.
It's just, this is what this is. And I know. And I'm telling you that I know. So I know you don't kill me on this balcony. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing.
Not.
Back off, bitch.
Nah. Oh, definitely. So, any other thoughts?
Nope.
Okay, so that then I suppose brings us to Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rhaenyra, and that brings us to our one and only proper dragon scene of the episode. The others weren't so much scenes as flickers.
A view from afar.
Yes. We will introduce 5 new dragons this season, but we will only let you see 2 of them for 5 seconds.
Please make sure you're wearing spectacles at the time.
Yes. Anyway, to the real dragon stuff. And no, not to say that wasn't cool, though. It was. But we'll get to that. So this moment, Rhaenyra and Adam. It's Adam she takes with her, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Did we talk about that as a choice? No, I don't think we did. What do you think of that choice? The choice to take Adam. Do you think that was the wise choice, the only choice?
I think it was maybe the only choice because Jace was really the only one to leave in charge of the dragon seeds.
Yeah, and they can't both be in the same place unless it's Dragonstone.
Yeah, like he's her son and she trusts him.
He's her heir.
Yeah.
More importantly, because he's her heir, they can't go out into the field together because if they're both lost, they're lost for good. But yeah, to take Adam, I mean, she could have took Baela.
She could have.
Baela would have been a good choice. It's Daemon's daughter. It would have been a little bit of, haha, I've still got you.
Is Sea Smoke more imposing though?
Sea Smoke's definitely more imposing than
Moondancer.
Sea Smoke's battle hardened.
And Adam's came across well.
And she, I suppose, like Baela would taking Baela might, appeal to Daemon's sort of fatherly instincts,
And, you know, it might be a way of Rhaenyra going, remember, your daughter's still with me. But to take Adam would unnerve him. Because who is this guy? You know, Daemon knows nothing about any of these dragon seeds. And for Rhaenyra to come in with a stranger on another dragon would unsettle him if there's treachery afoot, which is what she's been warned of. She's been warned of treachery. She's coming there under the idea that Daemon's up to shit. And
I wonder if it's also a protecting her family thing as well, because she is still quite motherly.
Yes.
So, yeah, keeping the kids safe.
Yeah, probably.
Keeping her kids, what she deems as her family.
Absolutely. And I really like the fact that, you know, Baela falls into that category for her. Who is not just her future daughter-in-law, but the future queen.
Yeah.
As well, is another way to look at it.
She's also her stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Niece. No, cousin.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah.
And she's
all of the above.
Yeah, like... what was... Rhaenys was her, like... What was second cousin, half cousin,
Rhaenys was her
something like
second
that.
cousin.
So that would make her, like, her second cousin once removed or something like that.
Twice removed.
Yeah.
Second cousin,
Plus
twice removed.
Stepdaughter.
Step-niece. Stepdaughter because of Daemon.
Yeah.
Step-niece because of Rhaenyra. Future
but
daughter-in-law.
Would she also be her... Yeah, so her cousin also, because Daemon's her uncle.
Yes.
And daughter-in-law. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And future daughter-in-law. Yes. They are connected in many ways. Oh, my God, yeah.
I need to go in the recovery position.
Oh, that's so funny. So, as a choice, taking Adam, I suppose. It is definitely, if you feel treachery is afoot and you wanted to a show of force,
Adam's the good play.
Adam is the good play. I mean, Vermithor would have been a great show of force, but
it would. But she can't trust Hugh yet,
and he's only been riding for a day.
Yeah.
So not the greatest choice. Mind you, Adam's only been riding for a day as well. It was for a day or two.
Yeah, I think though they had a moment on the beach.
They did. There was a connection, and he gives off very loyal vibes.
Absolutely, he bent the knee.
Yeah, those dragon seeds showed up trying to claim what they could get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas Sea Smoke chose Adam.
Yeah.
So therefore, the dragon trusts him.
Yeah,
That's it, isn't it?
That's the key, I think.
The dragon trusts him. And she trusts that dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think we've figured it out. We have absolutely figured it out. So, what does that give us?
So this is the point where she comes in and we have the cool Simon Strong bit. We have the cool Cyrax bit. It's like, everybody shut your fucking hole.
Yes. I love this scene. It was all kinds of brilliant. You know, Rhaenyra comes in and at first no one notices she's there. It's like...
Yeah, she just comes in with Sir Simon Strong, doesn't she? And he meets her outside and he's like, oh, you know, in his lovely Simon Strong way.
Definitely. So it's...
Yes, I must admit I had reason to fear.
So Rhaenyra lands and Sea Smoke is left circling above, which is also a clever move.
Yeah.
The keeping an eye out for incoming Vhaegars.
Incoming Nanas.
Yes. Nana in a bad mood. So Nana's always in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so... Great move, leaving Sea Smoke up there. She lands, she speaks to Simon Strong outside, and he doesn't say much, but again, he's just his whole body language, his mannerisms, he's just absolutely brilliant. I love him.
Yes, he's fab.
But it's like, yes, I fear it was much worse than I first anticipated, or something along those lines.
Come see for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And it's like,
what is it you're going to show her? Like a huge, like when you get in there, there's nothing really to see except Daemon has a massive army, but she's already seen that from the sky.
Yeah.
But he was not expecting what they walked into.
No.
No one was expecting that, especially not Alfred Broom. Have we talked about Alfred Broom?
Yes, we have, because he needs a hero.
He needs a hero, yes, he does. So
she comes in and no one's really noticed that she's there.
No, not at all. And then of course Cyrax is like, must have been like, she must have sensed this or something, is like, I'm gonna have to make an entrance here.
Rude. The Queen is here.
Queen is in the house. So it certainly had the desired effect.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, what the hell? Cool scene in the making of, by the way. They had like a fifth of the actual actors there. It was all, more CGI'd. They made the room look all bigger. They just had this little set in the middle and then CGI'd the rest of it to make look like there was way more people there than there actually was.
If only we could do that in real life.
Yes, absolutely. My gigs would have been so much more populated. There would have been a crowd at those gigs. We could have filled the Jam House floor. So this scene was just all kinds of brilliant. It was absolutely great. So I love it as when, of course, Daemon's like, oh, dragon in the house, Rhaenyra's here. And I love the way, the crowd parts for Daemon as he walks through. He's like king of the castle.
Yeah.
Very much so.
I totally got warning the wife vibes.
Yeah.
And although it was, there was so many people there was only the two of them in the room during the conversation that they had.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So when Rhaenyra comes in and he's like, look what I've done here. Look at all these guys. She's like, you've done well. And he's like, they're all sworn to me. And I love the way she steps back, raises her voice, and is like, and to whom are you sworn? Answer for everyone, please.
Yeah.
Just whispering in the corner here. Loved it. What were your thoughts on this scene?
The face acting was great between the two of them, because remember, they haven't seen each other for a wee while now.
No, and it was on right in the back of a big fight.
Yeah, and it's acted very well. There's Matt Smith and that cheeky face,
Yeah.
But it's acted so well because when he walks up to her, there is love in his eyes.
Yeah.
And although she's pissed off, there's love in her face as well. It's something unspoken between them that doesn't matter how bad it gets.
Yeah.
And don't forget, he's been a wicked fucker. Like, he's been awful. He's choked her and everything. He's been a dick.
Oh, he absolutely has. He's choked her, manipulated her. He almost ruined her as a teenager.
I mean, even just in
their marriage.
Recently for them, like just before.
He's undermined her.
Yeah, he's been awful to her.
Yeah, definitely. But I love this part, and this is where we go into the High Valyrian.
Mm-hmm.
And he says to her, the world is not what we thought it was. The war is just the beginning. Winter is coming.
Yay!
Yay! He said it. With darkness and doom.
Oh.
She says, you sound like my father. And he says, I saw it. I saw that we cannot withstand it. And yet, somehow, we must. I love those lines. They are so well written. Lovely. And it's just lovely hearing it in the High Valyrian as well. And then, of course, he breaks into the English again. It's the realm's only hope is a leader who can unite it. And my brother chose you. And then the best line of the season so far. Loved it. You are the true Queen Rhaenyra. I am meant to serve you and all of those with me until death or the end of our story. And as always, Simon's face is absolutely priceless.
And Alfred Broom does the biggest gulp when he bends the knee. It's so funny.
Alfred Broom is absolutely hilarious in this scene. His face is just priceless. But so is Simon Strong's.
I loved it. That moment, and he's like, Daemon's giving the big epic speech and all that, and he's like, this is so cool.
I'm so glad I sent that, Raven.
Brilliant. I always miss the good stuff. But then we go back into the High Valyrian again and we get, leave me again at your peril. And I love his answer. He's like, I could not. I have tried, my queen.
Oh, lovely.
And then I've got Alfred, exit stage left.
Yeah.
And of course, this is when Daemon gives his epic "We fight for our queen" speech. It is absolutely brilliant. Do you know what? I know I put it at the beginning of the episode, but I think we should hear it again because it's just so good.
You are the true queen, Rhaenyra. First of her name, protector of the realm. I am meant to serve you, and all of these with me, until death, or the end of our story.
And everyone kneels. I love it. Yeah, I might have to cut this, but we might have played a wee bit too much Ramen Jawadi there.
Nah, never.
I meant
possible.
I meant for YouTube.
Ine arli credruchas. Separ morolias.
Leave me again at your peril. Love it.
Nukikos don't war.
I could not. I've tried.
My queen.
So good.
For every one of us who falls, 100 of them, there will be no mercy. We fight for our queen.
I got all kinds of goosebumps there. I love it.
Well, I mean, in some respects, Alfred Broom was right. They needed a king to rally all those men together.
They did.
And then tell them, we're fighting for our queen.
You're so right. Yeah, I like that. Definitely, that's what happened there. Rhaenyra might have struggled to raise that kind of an army herself.
Yeah.
Daemon did a great job. He
had unorthodox methods, shall we say.
I was going to go about the methods here. There was something about the methods that I was trying to get out, yes. But yes, his methods are questionable, at the very least. But he succeeded in what he set out to do and what they needed.
Results.
Absolutely, results. The ends justify the means, maybe? No.
No, not in the world of Westeros, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So this is where we're at. Daemon's raised this army for Rhaenyra, and it is an impressive army.
Yep.
We've got the Velaryon fleet.
Yes.
7 dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and things are looking good for Team Black. But that brings us to our closing scenes. Unless you have anything else to say on the Daemon stuff.
No.
Right. So, closing scenes. What have I got here? So, of course, the main closing scene would be Alicent and Rhaenyra, which is what I'm saying. Things look great for Team Black at the moment. So, Alicent's desperate and shows up at Dragonstone to plead with Rhaenyra. What did you think of that? What did you think of this whole the choice to put it in the first place? Because obviously it's not in the book.
Well, my opinion's kind of unfounded, to be honest. It's a bit unfair. Obviously, we had writer strikes, we had other financial things going on.
Yeah.
So, but as a viewer, I just felt it was a bit. Well, how was Alicent just walked in there?
Yeah.
You know, it was a bit hard to swallow the way that she just walked in and Rhaenyra was woken up and you've got a visitor sort of thing. Surely it's the same deal, Rhaenyra going to King's Landing, as it is Alicent coming to Dragonstone.
At least Rhaenyra had a disguise.
Yeah, so that kind of made me go, that's very annoying.
I have to say, they both looked stunning in blue.
They did. They did.
And I like that because that was a throwback to young Alicent, who wore blue quite often.
Yeah.
And it was a colour that looked lovely on her. But yeah, I think this is one of those moments where we're supposed to suspend disbelief. Right. And
good chat though.
Oh my God, the dialogue was stunning. It was so well written. If this is what the writers were given storyboard wise and said, like, this is what we want to happen, then Claire Hess has written again. It was Claire, isn't it? Yeah, it was Claire.
I think so.
Right, Claire again has written the most stunning dialogue. This scene, and it's like, if we put aside the fact that we're like a wee bit like, why did it happen in the first place? How did it happen in the first place? You know, if we suspend our disbelief and just judge it for what it is, it was wonderfully written.
And it was wonderfully acted as well.
Yes.
And it was really nice to see the girls together again, having another one of those really tense conversations.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Because they are the deciders. Those girls, they really are.
They have certainly chose to focus in on these two as your central characters.
Yeah. And,
you know, there's a lot of supporting players there, but Alicent and Rhaenyra are, for all intents and purposes, the main focal point of this show. And they haven't been together all season. Well, except for that one we've seen at the Sept. So it was good to see them back together again and having this talk. And it was wonderfully written. It really was. And I love that it was like, it was written like a 3-act play.
Yeah.
The first part was about the past and the mistakes they made and who they were and etc. And then the second part being about, well, this is where we're at now. And we'll just, discussing a bit to and fro about, the state of things at this time. And then it's like, well, where do we go next? What's the next plan? And so it was very past, present and future. And the conversation was split up into 3 beautiful little acts. And I loved it. As it was 8.5 minutes long, though, I didn't clip the whole scene as such, but shall we listen to a couple of bits of it?
Yeah.
Right.
I've been, I think, mistaken.
Oh, really?
In what?
Oh, dear.
I was raised to believe there was an order to things. That there was security in following the path laid out for us. I resented you, I think, for caring so little for any of it, for knowing what you wanted. I did not know what I wanted. I knew only what was expected of me.
Why have you come here?
Because I lost my way. Or rather, it was taken from me. All those I put my faith in, my husband, my father, my lover, my son.
The incorruptible queen sullies herself with a lover.
Do not judge me for what you yourself have done. Your father died, I took comfort with another. I too have desires.
Yes, but you alone made virtue your banner.
And I clung to it.
That was it. That's the line.
In defiance of you, I think, who so disdained it.
So yeah, that was the line. You alone made virtue your banner. So what do you think of Alicent here at this point?
It's just everything you wanted her to say ages ago, isn't it? I'm with Rhaenyra all the way. Like,
you can feel it.
Why the fuck are you here? You just woke me up out of my bed to tell me shit that's evident. Like, why the fuck are you here? Go away. What do you fucking want?
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite good. Shall we play a little more?
I have been alone of late. I walked outside the walls of the city and I felt a weight lifted from me.
How lovely for you.
I thought for the first time what I would choose, if not for the duty I put before all else.
Shall you cast your son down and rule alone?
No, I do not wish to rule, I wish to live. To be free of all this endless plotting and striving. The crown will pursue war and victory at any cost. I But as for me, I would take my daughter and her child and leave it all behind.
It's too late. Alicent.
She said the same to her.
Yeah.
You said it yourself. Blood has been shed. Cities burned, armies march, and you wish to wash your hands of what you yourself set in motion.
Oh, the arrogance of blaming me. As if you would not have been challenged regardless.
Did not your hand bring it forth like a midwife?
I did only what I thought your father wanted.
Oh, go then.
Just go.
Leave us behind, as you say.
Do what you want.
Yeah, like...
Wander in the wilderness. What has it got to do with me?
See, why the fuck are you here? Go away.
Yeah.
Did you come here thinking you would be absolved?
I think she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely think she did go there looking for some sort of absolution.
She's like some pissed ex that phones you at 3 o'clock in the morning wanting to apologise for all the shite stuff they've done to you. Fuck off, mate. Why are you here?
Yeah, totally.
Like, goodbye.
Oh, I got one of the texts not that long ago, but it wasn't for the guy, it was for his brother. He's like, I'm so sorry, my brother was a dick to you.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Like, fuck off. But yeah, Rhaenyra's like, what? I came to you at the Sept. This is what she's saying. I came to you at the Sept and tried to stop this.
This was
before it became this. And you were like, it's too late now. And now you want to come to me when it really seriously is. It's seriously too late. She's just had this massive thing with Daemon. She's seen the armies.
Yeah.
Like, massive battles have already happened. The dragons are involved. You can't pull that back. And she's right. No, you can't take your daughter and just turn your back now and run away after you set that shit in motion. You did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, no. Fuck off. Go then. Go in the woods. I don't care. Fuck off.
I love
Idiot.
that bit. That was so cool. She's like, oh, do what you want. Just go.
Wander in the wilderness.
So good. Yeah, definitely. Right, let's hear a little bit more.
He never stopped loving your mother, you know. He was very fond of me and I of him, but she was the vision that sustained him. Even after she herself had slipped from his grasp, it was his love for her that kept him resolute in his choice of her.
And yet you believe he wavered at the end? Why have you come here?
Aemond will soon fly to join Cole in the Riverlands. When he's gone, Helaena as queen will be the crown's authority. If you come then to King's Landing, I will see to it that our guards throw down their arms. We will open the gates. We will shed no blood. You will enter as a conqueror. Already you have the stronger hand. Once you take the throne, this senseless war must end.
What of Aegon?
Oh, elephant in the room.
Yeah.
He's broken beyond recognition. He lies in the dark in pain and terror. He has many faults, but he still heeds his mother. I believe I can prevail upon him to bend the knee.
No, still. You defend him. Still you imagine you can have all you want without paying too high a price. A price I have no choice but to pay.
Is to set things right.
If I am to take the throne, I must put an end to the opposition. I must take Aegon's head. And I have to do it for all to see. You know this. However you may try to evade it, you know this.
She's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, the face acting is amazing.
Yeah.
I love the...
Choose.
The thoughts all washing over Alicent's face and Rhaenyra feeling for her so much as a mother in that moment, having to make that choice.
Will you shrink from what you set out to do, or will you see it through? and make your sacrifice.
Yeah, if you want peace, it has to happen.
Yeah.
A son for a son.
Oh.
And there it is, a son for a son.
Yeah.
What it really should have been in the first place. Little grandsons. That was not right. But, no. And Alicent never brings that up.
No.
Despite the fact that she knows Rhaenyra didn't do it. They already covered that at the Sept. This choice that Alicent has to make there, and just watching her go through it, and Rhaenyra watching her go through it, is so hard. Your thoughts, Emma?
No, I echo what you've said. It's really hard for her. However, like she said, she's been brought up to believe that duty comes first. And she needs to stop this war. And if it means that she has to sacrifice one of the things she loves most in the world for the sake of the realm, then, you know, it's a hard choice, but
oh dear Lord, he's
half dead anyway, you know.
Yeah, I think that's
if
part
he was
of
her son in the way that he was, and he was young and healthy and had his whole life ahead of him, maybe the choice is made slightly easier for her because he may still yet die anyway in her eyes at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a mercy.
Yeah. But the elephant in the room that nobody mentions is the fact that it's not just Aegon. It's Aemond and the other one's name's escaping me right now. Help me. Daemon. Also, because you take out Aegon and they're just going to try and put Aemond on the throne in his place. And then Daemon after him. That's the thing Rhaenyra's not saying.
Yeah.
But if she can get her to make that one sacrifice, because Aegon will be there in King's Landing when she arrives. So she needs to get rid of him and to secure her claim on that throne at that point. But there will be opposition still. And then she'll have to take the other two out as well.
His head is off, my bum's on the throne. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
It's easier for the small folk to digest.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. So let's hear a little bit more. So I think Alicent just nods her response here. There's no verbal response. Well, let's play the last part of the scene.
You're much changed. Let us be done with this. Please. And what do I do with you now?
An awful lot of sniffing going on.
You let me go to do what I promised. Then you fly to the Red Keep in 3 days' time and you take your throne. Or you take me for a liar. I have neither weapon nor armour. My life itself is forfeit. I cast myself on the mercy of a friend who once loved me.
History will paint you a villain.
Yeah, well, but you too, Hen.
Yeah.
Cold queen. Grasping for power and then defeated.
Let them think what they must. I am at last myself. With no ambition greater than to walk where I please and to breathe the open air. To die unremarked and unnoticed. And be free.
You speak as if from a distant dream.
Come with me.
My part is here, whether I will or no. It was decided for me long ago.
That's really sad.
It is, and she understands that way better now than when she first accepted it. If that makes sense. Yeah, she accepted it before she really understood it.
I like the little book reference, though, that history will paint you a villain, the cold queen. Because in the book, Alicent is a cold bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I like that little nod to...
Yeah, and how history is written by the people that don't know you. They don't know anything about you. They just know what you did.
Yeah. Or what they... in the way that they perceive it.
Yeah. Especially the maesters.
Yeah.
Especially talking about women.
Yeah.
If these were two men fighting in the same way, would they be painted?
Oh, absolutely not. They'd be heroes.
Mm-hmm. They would. They'd be heroes on both sides. But the history books have painted both these women as cold and power-grabbing and borderlining evil.
You could say the same for Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen of Scots.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen many different versions of Mary.
The general consensus was, though, that she was a slut.
Yeah, that's the way history
She was
painted her.
a French Catholic slut.
Mm-hmm.
And Elizabeth was a barren, mean woman.
Yeah.
And actually, no, neither of those women, when they were girls...
Yeah.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe the way history's painted them.
No, history pitted them against each other because one represented a Protestant monarchy and the other one a Catholic. And, you know, Elizabeth was considered a bastard in many's eyes, and Mary was of pure descent. But at the same time, she represented the old ways of Catholicism, and England had moved on to a Protestant regime at that point. So they were pitted against each other by the men around them. And I feel like there's a little bit of that in Alicent and Rhaenyra here as well. Yeah. Definitely. It's just, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah.
It often rhymes. So yeah, great scenes. Loved it. So well written. It was a great intimate moment to end the show on.
Yeah.
I feel. One last chance for, you saw Rhaenyra try to have her one last moment to put it right at the beginning of the season before things went too far. And yeah, Alicent maybe should have listened to her then, but, well, she still had a little bit of power. But here we are, Alicent's reached the same point in a different way, though. In a different way. It's more a peace that she's found within herself. I don't think Rhaenyra was at peace when she went searching to put everything to a stop. But Alicent's found this peace within herself that, life is way more important than any of this bullshit. Just living my daughter, finding some sort of happiness again, maybe, would be really nice.
Yeah.
I think Helaena is her main motivation. And everything she does now is just making sure Helena's all right. And, that little spark of interest she had about Daemon. So,
our closing scenes.
Did you have any other thoughts on Alicent and Rhaenyra before we move on?
No, I think I covered it.
Excellent. So, that brings us to our final scenes, the armies on the move montage. And I thought it was great. So it's all cut with Alicent doing this really, really slow walk out of Dragonstone, looking absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And very, very pensive. But yeah, it cuts with the dragon seeds getting fitted for their armour. Ulf looking rather smug.
However, Adam has got the best armour.
Yes, definitely. He was looking rather dapper. Clinton livery, yes, please. Definitely. So then we see Rhaenyra roughing it, more running.
Yep.
Then in a blink and you miss it, Emma reached for the wine and totally missed the rewatch there. And we saw Tessarion.
Woohoo!
What was her nickname? The Blue Queen or something?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's a Blue Queen.
But stunning looking dragon for the 4 or 5 seconds we saw it.
Or the millisecond that I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally teasing us with, 5 new dragons. Like last episode, last 5 minutes. So, yeah, that was cool. We've got the Hightower army. They're moving into place. So they're travelling up from Old Town. Then we see the Starks at the twins crossing the Green Fork. And the shot was amazing.
It was amazing.
It is so cool. The camera work here was stunning. Go and watch the behind the scenes, guys. It was really, really, really cool. This was called the Impossible Shot.
Yeah.
And it was stunning camera work, but it was great to see Stark banners.
Yeah, it was.
It was so cool. So they're crossing the Green Fork, and we have the Lannister army at the Red Fork near Harrenhal. They are the closest to Harrenhal at the moment. The Stark army is probably double that distance away. The landscape here is so cool. I got my maps out and everything to look at this, and it's got to be CGI'd in because it's so perfect. The curve of that river and the positioning of Harrenhal down the Trident where the Red Fork meets. Yeah, it's just so cool. It's absolutely great. Just I had the maps out for this whole scene trying to figure out where everybody was. Then we've got Daemon surveying his army. We're looking rather pleased with himself. So cool. More Alicent slow walking. And then we have stormy weather on the Narrow Sea with Thailand and the Triarchy looking rather imposing. Followed by Alan and Corlys heading out to Corlys's ship, the Queen Who Never Was.
Beautiful ship.
Beautiful ship. Terrible name.
Yep.
A lot of tension on that boat.
Alan's looking badass.
Yes, he is. His armour is amazing.
Yeah.
He looks so good. And, second in command, it looks. And yeah, definitely. Would have liked to have seen a wider shot of the Valyrian fleet.
Yeah.
I think that would have been quite fitting in the scene. But nonetheless, we get the idea.
Yep.
But maybe they're saving it. Maybe they're showing us the sheer force of the Valyrian fleet until it matters. That would be cool. And then, of course, we have another dragon moment. Rhaenyra finds Sheep Stealer, who is, funnily enough, eating sheep. It has to be Sheep Stealer. There's no other choice.
Absolutely. It's scoffing sheep, and it looks like Sheep Stealer does a massive burp.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Love that scene.
Yeah.
She comes over the sort of crest of the hill, spots Sheep Stealer, eyes almost pop out her head, and her eyebrows almost leave her forehead.
No.
And then it's like the shot goes back, and it looks like Sheep Stealer does the biggest burp. Awesome. Pardon you.
Yep, definitely. And then the scene that broke the internet for a few days afterwards, Otto Hightower in a cage.
Yeah.
We have blown this wide open, folks, for those of you who did not pick up on it and are wondering what happened to Otto Hightower. There are plenty of videos out there. I watched a couple of them.
Hi, it's Fiona here in post-production. Emma and I have decided to edit out this section and release this information to you as our first YouTube video. Check out our channel, The Unreal Hour, on YouTube, and look out for this reveal. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there.
Well, it's Otto in a cage, then more Alicent looking pensive, and then we see Larys and Aegon on the run, who are heading south, by the way. They are heading south, which says...
Dorne?
There's 3 places they could be going. They're either heading towards Old Town, which makes no sense if they're going to Pentos. It's the other side of Westeros, and it's definitely the long way around. And it's heading towards people they think they want to avoid.
Yeah.
They also will be heading towards the Hightower army for sure.
Dorne's a bit far.
Dorne is a bit far and a bit treacherous. They'd have to go through the Red Mountain Pass. There's only the Dornish really know their way around there, which is why nobody really conquered Dorne. The armies never really make it through the Red Mountains.
So then what option are they left with?
Storm's End. from Storm's End is practically a straight shot across to Pentos, a little bit north. But, you know, it's a straight shot over. And it'd be the quickest way. But
they've got to try and avoid the Triarchy.
They will absolutely have to avoid the Triarchy, who will be coming from further south of Pentos, going diagonally across their path.
But Larys is smart enough to know by now that
that's happening.
That the blockade is no longer.
Yes. Or, well, no, the blockade's still in place.
Well, it will be no longer.
Yeah, it will be.
In a very, by the time he travels where he's going, the blockade should have been
So
dispersed.
the blockade is really only for... The blockade is just blocking
King's
Landing, that bay area.
In order to go from Storm's End to Pentos, are they far enough down that they're going to miss whatever battle ensues in order to disperse the blockade?
Yes, the only problem is that they might bump into the Triarchy crossing their path.
So he just has to time it well that the Triarchy are involved in dispersing the blockade.
They're either past already or they get across before them, but they're already on their way. So they, like, once the Triarchy are already there and fighting, they can just shoot straight across and no one's going to notice them, except maybe a couple of Triarchy stragglers. And they're probably going to go on some sort of merchant ship anyway.
Yeah.
So yes, they have. I would say Storm's End is probably where they're heading. It's great, knowing your way around the map. You're like, right, okay, I can, and it literally was just watching the scene, from where King's Landing was positioned and the way that they were heading south.
Yeah,
there's no other explanation. And then it cuts to those absolute final scenes of Alicent and Rhaenyra again. We've got that stunning shot of Alicent looking out over the cliffs, the sunrise. And the Rhaenyra has the same view, but from a balcony.
Do you know what's really cool about that scene? So the way that we see Rhaenyra is through that really awesome, what are we calling it, scroll case.
Yes.
Right? So we see Rhaenyra through this little triangle. No, it's a diamond. There's a diamond shape. So we see her through that. That's how we're looking at her. And we see Alicent looking out just on a landscape.
Yeah.
So Alicent desires freedom.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra desires being in the middle of all that shit.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool visual representation of where the two women are and what they want for their future, which I thought was a cool way to end it.
That was really cool. I never thought of it like that. I like that.
I hope that's what they intended, but that's what I took from it.
Rhaenyra's boxed in.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra's, she's confined. She's stuck in her destiny.
Yeah.
And
Alicent
just
has this clarity and wants freedom.
Yeah. Interesting. I like it. Very observant. Love it. So that's it.
I drink wine and I know things.
At 5 hours and 10 minutes, we have finally covered the bulk of the episode.
Oh my.
We have covered our plot points. We have RIP to discuss. And 5 hours. 5 hours, Emma. 5 bloody hours. Wow.
So we're splitting this into parts now, guys. We can't do that to you.
Yeah, during one of those many breaks that you have in a 5-hour episode, we have decided that, we are going to have to split this. So that we have RIP, some fun facts. Oh my God. My notes say the IMDb facts made me actually rage. Need to find better ones.
I don't know about our listeners, but I wouldn't be disappointed in us if we left out fun facts for...
We had loads of fun facts scattered throughout the whole episode.
We did, and I think if there's anything else that we would like to share, we can do that in the next episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In our... What's the word I'm looking for? In our debrief. Is it debrief?
Yeah.
Was it? Yes, yeah.
And that brings us to our RIP section. There was no deaths in episode 8. But in episode 7,
we said goodbye to 30 or so Targaryen bastards.
Oh, so we did.
Yes, we did. I feel like the least that the Dragon Keepers could have done before they left was give them all some suicide knives.
Or a bucket of water.
There was a lot of puddles. Wet puddles they could have.
Let's be honest, those puddles were warm. Wet though, but warm.
Yes. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, you poor bastards.
And then we said goodbye to Willem Blackwood.
Oh, well, he was a cunt anyway, wasn't he?
He was a bit. I was starting to like him too until that point. He was coming across as quite noble, but they just could not get past his hatred for the Brackens.
No.
It ruled every choice he made. He literally was given an inch and took a mile. And he did so carrying Targaryen banners. And he was warned. There are things that the crown must not be seen to do.
Rest in peace, Willem Blackwood.
Yes, rest in peace, Willem. What a twat. Okay, so now would be time for fun facts, but the IMDb fun facts made me rage, and I think this episode is littered with loads of fun facts already.
Yeah.
So moving on, if you want to know why the IMDb facts made me rage, read them and then refer back to my earlier rant about the Night King. It'll all make sense.
Yeah.
And that's just one of them, but there's flaws in them all. Inaccurate and not entertaining. Not fun. Those facts.
No, they were not.
No, they're not fun. Which I think they could just be written by anybody, though. And that's sort of the impression I'm getting. There's a wee add button, and you can just add your own fun facts.
Yeah, 100%. I think some of them have been added by people that have never read the books or seen the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Just made it up.
There's a lot of YouTube content getting made by people like that too, though.
True story.
So true. Anyway.
That's a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. So that brings us to listener feedback. It's our first listener feedback session. I'm so looking forward to this. They are short and sweet. Going forward, please elaborate more, people. We love your comments, but we want to hear the nitty gritty about what you really think.
Yeah.
You know, the details.
So first up, we've got Jerry Ahastine. I am so sorry if there's a mispronunciation there. This is what happens when I drink wine. Love both seasons, great cast. The only thing I hated was they killed off the queen who never was. She was one of my favourites. Jerry, I wholeheartedly agree with that. That's a great comment.
Definitely. That was one of the saddest points of this season for me.
It was, and your emojis are spot on within this comment.
We've got a broken heart and a crying face emoji.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you so much for your comment.
Excellent. I have to agree as well. Rhaenys is absolutely my favourite. She got a clip in every single episode. And then even the following one where she was delivering her message through her granddaughter.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, Rhaenys will definitely be missed, and she will go down as one of my all-time favourite Ice and Fire characters.
Yeah, me too.
Our next comment is from Monique Smith, who just says, amazing, with a clapping emoji. And excellent. Good to hear someone being positive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, just amazing. Everyone, I've heard plenty of people say it was good, but everyone's got a critique.
Yeah.
So it's nice to just hear someone say, I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Excellent. Next.
So we have Diane Arnone. I like the show. I was disappointed, but went along with the character development of Daemon, having him find himself at Harrenhal castrated the rogue prince. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I rate season 2 at a 9.0. Yeah, no, that's absolutely valid.
Yeah.
I would go with the score rating. Well,
yeah, I'll agree with that score rating straight away.
I wasn't disappointed in the character development, if I'm honest. And I thought Matt Smith did it absolute justice.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
He did. He played the role that was written for him absolutely fantastically. And if you've got an actor like Matt Smith, who really does nothing in this point of the story, I think it was great to...
I absolutely get the point of it having castrated the Rogue Prince, though, because it was a bit...
I do get that, yeah.
A bit weepy. No, it was a bit mopey and like... It was a bit yeah. That's
that time.
Yeah,
he was very lost. He was very down and depressed, and there was very little rogue about him.
Yeah,
I think that was it. We always go back to that little smirk.
Yeah,
it was gone all season. It was there at the beginning a little bit. It was there at that table when Rhaenyra realised that it was him that did it.
Yep.
But the funniest part about that scene actually is when Rhaenys, she realised a few minutes before.
Yeah.
she clocked it and she's like, it was you. And then she's just waiting for Rhaenyra to catch up.
Waiting for that penny to drop.
But yeah, from that moment to the end, that Daemon's smirk swagger was missing.
It was.
And I'll give that. But I think he did a great job with the arc that he was given. I think I liked the overall arc. There was a bit in the middle I felt was unnecessary.
Yeah, we know what bit you think is unnecessary.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it. It was just bleh, right? But I don't think they had to do it. I think that one there, but do you know what? I didn't like that episode overall. That episode overall was just a bit meh.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I'm not a writer myself. I don't know what it takes to sit down and work like these guys do. And I'm sure the person that wrote that episode probably has some good writing chops to be able to get a job on House of the Dragon. But I felt it was the weakest written of them all.
I feel like it was kind of true to the books in a sense that, it is very chop, 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 chop to each sort of fact within history.
Yeah,
and the episode itself was very this. It just kind of that's the way it flowed.
Lots of short scenes.
Yeah,
and it was one of those ones where I think we got a little scene from everybody, whereas we always get that it focuses in on a few characters, and then you might not see a character for an episode or barely see them. But I felt like we were trying to get a little bit of everybody's aftermath after Rook's Rest, I suppose. That's what I was trying to do. But Daemon's dream in that one, not only did the dream just creep me out, I also just felt it was maybe a bit much. But I loved the arc of where he
certainly wasn't castrated in that.
No, he certainly was not castrated in that vision, no. But I like the overall arc of who he was when he was having visions of Millie compared to who he had become by the time he was having the visions of Viserys.
Yes.
And then one step further of who he was when he had his proper weirwood vision.
Yeah.
So overall, I like Daemon's arc, but yes, episode 5 I remember sitting there watching episode 5 going, this has gone on a bit long now, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've had enough of Daemon's dreams now. But then the following week, I really enjoyed the Paddy one. And then the week after, more Paddy. So, yeah.
And I'm going to guess from Diane's comment that maybe she feels the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good score. However, I totally get that. She's
scored a 9.0 for the series overall, but that one thing just kind of niggled her. And I would say if there was anything that niggled me was
same. I'm in agreement.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Thanks for that comment, Diane. That was a great talking point.
Absolutely. Is it my turn?
It is.
So our next comment is from Sabrina Barth, who says, "I just love this series." With 2 sunglassy emojis and a thumbs up. What do we call that sunglassy emoji?
That's the cool guy.
It's cool,
emoji.
Isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
There we go. Just love this series. So I'm taking from that Sabrina's just a fan. She is just a fan of this world and this universe, and she's going to take whatever they throw at her and take the best from it.
Yeah.
Which is what we try to do.
We do, yeah.
I mean, even things like episode 5, I mean, it wasn't the greatest episode, I would say it was the weakest of the series to date, not just this season. But we still found some nuggets of good in there too. And I think when you sit and you really get into a conversation about it, whether that be with your friends around the water cooler or whether you're listening to a podcast or making a podcast, I think you start to appreciate things that you might not have just from one watch.
Yeah, it's also the thing that I keep going back to. There's nothing else like this on TV.
No.
So if you're a fan of this genre, then just embrace it. There's going to be bits that people are going to that maybe weren't your favourite.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, it's really, really great watching.
It is.
It's a great world to be in. It's so fun to watch.
Yes. And I like that you're saying this, you being the biggest Lord of the Rings fan that I know, while Rings of Power is on and you're saying there's nothing like this on TV.
No, because this is very different from
different.
Tolkien's world. Tolkien's world is lovely and full of light and mythology and relationships.
The world started with a song. And
it started with a rap battle, man.
It was a rap battle.
But yeah, like George's world is death and disaster and betrayal and war, and I mean there is that in Tolkien's world, but there's not incest and child murder and the horrific things that are in George's world.
No, I think
it's very, very different.
I think The Lord of the Rings is written from a perspective of there is both good and the evil in the world, but we're rooting for good and good will overcome.
Yes.
Whereas George's characters are very grey, right?
Yes.
Daemon is both equal parts dark and light.
Yeah.
Tyrion is equal parts dark and light. For you book readers out there, you know what I'm talking about. Book Tyrion is dark, right? He is, but again, even we find her. Sorry, there's a little fly. I want to get it. Miyagi, Emma, go. Miyagi that. Go get.
Missed him. It's your turn.
I've lost him. I think you got him that second time, by the way.
I think he's running scared.
Yeah. What was I saying? So
light and dark. Yeah.
Light and dark, definitely. We find ourselves rooting for this little 11-year-old girl throughout the series of Game of Thrones, who's actually so traumatized she's become a serial killer.
Yeah.
And yet she's a fan favourite.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a much darker world.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
So next we're on to Tim Noble. Thought it was a bit limp, frankly. A waste of time. Shame. I had high hopes for it.
Is that like shame? Ding, ding, ding. Shame. Ding, ding, ding.
Not sure. And I'm not sure what his emoji is because I don't have any glasses on. Is this the shrugging shoulders guy?
It's the shruggy guy. Yeah, I think it's the shruggy emoji.
Tim, that's really disappointing. That's the way you felt. A waste of time. It's really sad that I don't know if you've read the books. I don't know if you're a fan or if it's just something that you've popped on and thought, oh, this might be good. There's a lot of following and you've been disappointed. It might not be your genre. Yeah, that's sad that you feel that way. And it would be really cool to have some more information. So guys, if you have a comment like this, it would be great if you could give us a bit more, you know, so as we can understand your perspective of why you thought it was a waste of time, a shame, and why you had high hopes for it. I think it sounds like he has read the book.
I think so.
Maybe not. Maybe I was onto something there with he's just gone with the hype and thought everybody loves this. It must be great. Well, not everybody, but you know where I'm going with that. Strange that this has 3 likes on it as well.
Yeah, this is.
So I wonder if it's a general consensus of people. I don't know. Going to say, Tim, don't agree, but that's cool. I'm entitled to my opinion and you're entitled to yours.
So what I want to say in response to that is I don't know if you're aware of some of the behind the scenes stuff. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail when we get to the news section, which will be in about 5 minutes. But what you're saying about it being a bit limp, I can agree with that in parts, because like we've talked about the infamously tedious episode 5, that was a bit limp, and there was other parts of it that were a bit limp. There was dialogue that was a little bit clunky in places and things, and the reason for this is because it was written as a 10 episode season, then they had 2 episodes cut, and then they went into filming during a writer's strike. So when you've got a script that's been written and you go and to film that, sometimes it doesn't work once you've actually got the actors in there acting out the scene, and there's bits that are a bit wrong and they don't really work as well as you'd like them to. So you rewrite them. You do on-the-spot rewrites. But during a writer's strike, you're not allowed to do that. So therefore, they had to go into filming this with the scripts that were prepared in the writer's room. And nobody knew how they were going to play out on screen until it was too late to do anything about it. So I think overall the series was an absolute success. It was, like Emma said, there's nothing out there like it. And it was really, really well done. There was some amazing writing in there, some beautifully stunning dialogue, but at the same time, there was parts that were clunky. And I'd like to believe that in a world without a writer's strike, that those would have been fixed.
You can't take away episode 4.
That was amazing.
I had goosebumps, episode 4, before the battle.
Yeah.
And then the battle itself was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that's my part where I think, I don't agree.
Yeah.
For me, that was the highlight of both seasons. It was amazing.
Yeah, I want to come back to something that we said earlier on in this episode as well, which was, this is a story about characters. And yes, this season was lacking in action, right? Mm-hmm. But the next 2 episodes that were planned in the writer's room had that action that we were all craving. But this is a story about people. This is about the heart and conflict. That is what we got.
It's a story about a family torn apart after generations.
And a nation torn apart because of it. And that is what we are getting. And the fact that, these guys are being a bit hesitant about rushing headlong into full-blown war during this second season is quite commendable, actually. Yeah. Because what's coming next, you might wish that things were a bit quieter.
Also, I think it would be good to bear in mind that George bases a lot of his writing on actual history.
Yes.
So, from that perspective, a lot of this comes from real events, and history is ambiguous.
Yeah.
So,
I always come back to, was it a Ramsay Snow quote from, I think it's season 5 of Game of Thrones. If you think this story has a happy ending, you've not been paying attention. And it's so true. But you're totally entitled to your opinion, Tim, and I understand why you feel the way you feel, and I hope that my answers of why it was the way it was maybe pacify you a bit and give you a little bit more hope for next season. That would be my hope, that if you have gone to the effort to listen to this 5-hour podcast, then you are a true fan and you will be back next season.
I would also like to say that this is now at the point where I think you should turn this into a drinking game, and every time I have said, yeah, you take a drink.
No, that's too bad. People will be on hospital, Emma.
Well, I'm going to give it a go. Your turn.
And our next comment is from Cecilia Chinchi Pedranis. I think Pedrianis, maybe. I hope that I have pronounced your name correctly. She says, I like the show. I thought the season was short. I was expecting more episodes. Well, I think we covered that during the last comment.
Yeah.
We were too.
Yeah.
So was Ryan.
And George.
Yep. But it is what it is. We will get into a wee bit more detail on the why of it in the news section. But for now, I agree with you. I'm glad that you like the show, and we hope to see you back next season.
So now we've got Mary Banter, horrible season. Is that the crying emoji? Sad emoji?
I'm not sure. I think that's a wah emoji. That's kind of what that face looks like. Anyway, there's it's got squinty eyes, wrinkled eyebrows, and a wide open upside down
mouth.
Frown.
Yeah.
And a shruggy shoulders.
Mary, I would like to know maybe why horrible season. Maybe I don't. I think we maybe covered. No. Your comment is just a short version of what Tim had to say. Really, it's a and that's okay.
Constructive criticism, people, please. Criticism is okay, but for the purposes of this podcast, can we keep it constructive so then we can debate it?
Yeah,
and we can talk about your points and agree with some of them and disagree with others, and hopefully maybe turn you around a little bit as well on the things that we disagree on, or maybe just solidify your views.
Yeah,
who knows? But give us the why of what you feel. That's what I'm taking from that. I'm thinking if Mary Banta thinks it was a horrible season, there's very little chance of her listening to our podcast.
I think you're right.
But just in case you do, Mary, we appreciate your comments. Please elaborate further.
Yes.
Even after the fact, you can add to this post.
Yeah.
And
drop us a line, Mary. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely. Okay, so Daniel Warren says, the last episode was a big letdown. It needed less talking and scheming and more action. I would agree with you in the sense that if it was written as a season finale, then I would absolutely agree. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. I don't agree with you, because every single season of Thrones, we had a big explosive episode 9 and a chilled out aftermath episode 10.
I would say this is the format of most things on telly now. You have your big bang episode 9 or penultimate. Yeah. And then the last episode winds it all.
And then sets you up for the next season as well. But so yes, we did have quite an explosive previous episode. Episode 7 with the dragon seed stuff was very action-packed. Not battle-y, but still action-packed. And then we have this, which did in a lot of ways feel like an episode 10, especially the end of it. The last 5 minutes did feel like it felt like the end of season 6, I think it was the end of season 6 of Thrones, when Dany's on her ships coming over. It had that kind of feel, like everybody's moving into the places they need to be for the action to happen.
I didn't hate it. My stance is, well, there's definitely going to be another season. You know how you watch some things and you go, oh shit, don't tell me that's the real end.
No, there was definitely, there's more to come. But as an episode, a finale episode for a season, the overall, the last 5 minutes definitely felt like an end. But the overall of that episode didn't very much feel like a finale. I will give you that, but it was never written as a finale.
No,
it was written as episode 8 is 10, and as we've already covered, they had to roll with what they had.
Yeah, it played out the way it did due to circumstance.
Absolutely.
We're just repeating the same thing. Like you guys know by now, they could only piss with the cock they've got, and that's it.
Exactly. Now, the fact that Ryan and Sarah Hess were both on set as producers who are actually credited as writers means that maybe behind the scenes there was a little bit of jiggity-pokery going on to tweak some stuff. But I would assume that
is the established writers that they had, they would not want to cross that picket line.
Yeah.
So there was a strike in place and every writer respected it.
Yes.
And so therefore it is what it is. And yeah, we can't repeat ourselves anymore on that. So is it me? Is it you?
No, we have...
It's you.
Oh, we have me. Okay, Rick Flett was severely lacking in the fire department. Overall, still really solid television. Great character work and whatnot. But damn, a whole lot of build-up and very little payoff. Oh, Rick, that's unfair.
Oh.
There was plenty fire. Like, how many bastards died in Dragonfire? Did you miss that
I think
episode?
It was about 30 or 40.
Yeah, like,
I can't
look
remember
back on
the
our
exact number
RIP from that episode. There was a lot of bastards died.
That was the RIP from this episode.
Okay, it was like 10 minutes ago, dude. Like, come on.
Right. I'm going to disagree with the lacking fire. I love your overall still good, solid television. Great character work and whatnot. That's good. That's constructive.
Yep, totally,
it's constructive.
Totally valid.
And
it's back to what we've already covered. And
a whole lot of build up and very little payoff. We've already discussed why. Yes, we know that. We agree with that. But hopefully we can win you back towards the show with some information as to the why.
Yeah, come on, Rick. You know you want to.
Yeah. Great character work. That's what we came here for.
Yes.
Absolutely. And finally, Kirk Penny. So Kirk says, I've seen bits and pieces of Rings of Power. I don't think the casting is as powerful as Game of Thrones.
This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. However, Kirk, I am loving the Anchorman Tash.
Yeah.
But you're making no sense, love.
No. I think Kirk was very, very drunk when he sat down and watched House of the Dragon and Rings of Power.
We've been drunk for this whole 5.5 hour podcast.
And I still know that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Oh, he's being funny. That's
He's messing with us.
Yeah.
I think he's messing with us.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the how. That's why the dead air was me sitting there going, I think it's sarcasm, but...
Yeah. Oh, Kirk, you cheeky monkey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting your sarcasm there, and I'm thinking that you're feeling like all these shows are just the same, is maybe the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
What I'm taking from that is that Kirk thinks that all these shows are just the same. And I think we had a conversation about 5-10 minutes ago about why they're not.
Yes.
So please refer to our comments 5-10 minutes ago regarding comparing Rings of Power to Game of Thrones or Tolkien to George Martin.
However, for our first listener feedback, cheers, guys. It's been really nice to actually have some feedback.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate
Please keep
it.
the comments coming. Elaborate further. I do not care if they're paragraphs long. If you're going to send us a recorded message, please keep it under 3 minutes.
Oh, I'd love a little voice note.
Oh, please send us a voice note. I really, really, really want to hear.
Can you please say on your voice note if you would prefer for your voice note not to be used on the show and we just read it out? I'm happy to do that.
So if you want to leave us a voice note, you can either just record one on your phone and send it to our email address, which is talk@theunrealhour.com, or you can go to our website, which is theunrealhour.com, and there is a link on every page at the side of the page that just says record a voice note, and that will also get sent automatically to the same email. So sending us a voice recording has never been easier, so please use this function. And that is it for listener feedback. I'm so excited that we had listener feedback. Woo! Yay! Thanks, guys. Great to have you as part of the show. And that wraps up listener feedback. So let's move on to the news, which kind of follows on from some of the things we were saying about in the last section.
Yep.
Let's start with the good stuff. What you got for it, Emma?
Well, we've got a Night of the Seven Kingdoms coming.
Yay.
So that'll be our next thing before we have another season of House of the Dragon.
Absolutely. So that'll be coming as late 2025, and they have wrapped up filming.
That's really cool.
So it's going to be a lot simpler in a time of no dragons. The entire first season, if the first season is played by the books, then the whole thing will be set over a period of about 2 or 3 days at one tourney in one setting.
I'm hoping to see a bit more humour.
Definitely.
Love Game of Thrones humour. So I'd like to see more of that. What are you hoping to see from the season?
No
spoilers at this point.
No spoilers, absolutely. What I'm hoping for is something a little bit more character focused.
Yeah.
We're going to have a much smaller selection of characters. They're all going to be in the one place, intermingling with each other. It's going to be cool seeing different generations of all these families that we already know.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be Lannisters and Baratheons and Starks all over the place.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. But definitely the humour. Yeah, to come back to what you were saying, having read the books many years ago, and there is just a great connection between these two lead roles. There's going to be a lot of banter. Egg is very dry, very, very honest, a little spoiled, and sees the world through a completely different view from Dunk. And so these two people coming together, they complement each other so well.
Lovely.
And I'm mostly looking forward to seeing that relationship develop.
And there's a lot of these kinds of relationships within the various worlds that we've come into screenplay so far.
Yeah.
So it'll be really cool to see that particular relationship on screen.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do it. So, no, this isn't a spoiler. So between book 1 and book 2, there's like a 2-year gap. Are they going to fill in that gap? Or are they going to, is season 2 going to be book 2? Are we going to get a lot of these guys in their younger days for this show? Or are these characters going to grow up as the seasons develop? I'm interested to see how it's all going to play out, and I'm very excited. It's definitely by a standout little reading experience for me, reading these wee novellas. They're great, and they're riddled with lore and history.
Cool. Really looking forward to that.
So good. So can't wait to see them next year, late 2025. So I'm going to call it and say September.
Yeah.
I think that would be an appropriate sort of time to be releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the back half of the summer, actually. Maybe, July, possibly. But certainly not before the summer.
No.
But like I say, it is going to be a lot smaller budget, a lot less set development, etc. There's no massive CGI budget required for dragons or anything like that. But the blood of the dragon is still present. So we might be missing those fiery beasts, but the dragon presence will still be felt.
I don't think there's any massive actors in it either, is there?
Not that I know of. No, I haven't heard of anyone I know being cast.
So that's quite cool.
But do you know, having looked at the actors that have been cast, I'm like, yeah, that's how I pictured them.
Good.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that. So there's some absolutely fab, notable characters from history. We've got the Laughing Storm. We have Baelor Breakspear. Just absolutely legendary historical characters from Ice and Fire.
I'm actually just having a scroll through the cast on IMDb.
Yeah.
And there's maybe 16 actors within the whole thing so far. But 14.
Right, okay.
14. So yeah, that's really cool. And none of them have been in massive, massive things. So I really like that.
I like that. I like it when they don't
overcast it. Is that a thing? That's
Yeah.
Like, I feel Game of Thrones had this great mixture of unknown actors and well-established, iconic actors like Charles Dance or Diana
Rigg.
Diana Rigg, and Diana Rigg. So absolutely.
She was in the original Avengers.
Yes, she was. She's a very, very cool lady. Absolutely loved her.
Was it Emma Peel? Is that who she was?
Oh, I don't know. I'll take your word for that. But so we've got these amazing actors that, were absolute stars in our parents' day,
But they weren't the main characters, which made it even cooler.
Yeah, definitely. Many. They're just dotted
Sean
about
Bean.
all over the place.
Sean Bean,
come on.
Sean Bean! We forget Sean Bean.
And then, God, I can't remember his name. He was going, Lovejoy!
Oh my God, Ian McShane,
exactly. I mean, these are like, these actors are like people we grew up with.
Yes.
But at the same time, they had this fine balance of unknown actors too.
Ian McShane is a vampire, didn't you know?
Is he? Oh yeah.
He is aging, but I'm like, okay, so Ian McShane has been like middle-aged since I was 6, and I'm now middle-aged, and he doesn't look that much older. Like, he doesn't look much his older. Age is not progressing in the way I would imagine.
Aye. Yeah.
He should be like 107 by now, and he's not.
Do you know I was feeling the same way about Patrick Feastenders as well? Yeah. He's been an old man my whole life. My whole adult life, he's been an old man. But see, watching the old ones, like I recently watched some, like, I think it was 2001 or something he came into it, and I recently watched those ones. And you see him then compared to now, and you do see the decline of age, right? But at the same time, I felt like he was old back then.
I think it's our perspective, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I lost track of what we were saying, but I think we were done anyway. I think we were just going off on a wee tangent there. Yep. So moving on. Next on the agenda for news was... So yes, here we are. And it's time to address what happened behind the scenes at House of the Dragon this year. And it's tragic, really. We already made reference to the fact that they wrote for a 10-episode season. At the very last minute, the budget was cut, and the writer strikes, etc. But what is going on behind the scenes at HBO and Warner Bros. Discovery is tragic, really. It all appears to come back to, I mean, it's hard to just blame one person. I'm sure there are plenty other mistakes going on along the way. But it all kind of comes back to this David Zaslav, who is the current CEO and president of Warner Bros. Discovery. He became CEO in 2021, and since then, Warner Brothers stock has dropped by 70%.
Holy shit.
I've watched a bit of videos and done a bit of reading, and I don't pretend to retain all the facts and figures. My memory doesn't work like that. But what I can remember off the top of my head here was he lost them the contract with the NBA. They asked for more money, or we're going back to Fox. I think it was Fox. So they asked, we want more money, or we're going back to Fox. And he went, okay, off you go. And they went, okay then. And he went, oh no, I've changed my mind. Here, have more money. And they were like, no, we're gone. Deal signed, we're off. And he lost that. I mean, the NBA, that's massive.
Yeah.
They lost that. There was a massive loss regarding the Suicide Squad game. Apparently, the gaming division of Warner Brothers is an absolute shambles. And this game not only flopped, but had takings of negative 200 million.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. That is how much money went down the toilet. And, I don't like to comment on the personality of
someone I've never met or even seen in an interview. I maybe should have watched some interviews with them and drawn my own conclusions from this. But from what I can gather from people who have done the research, is that the guy's all over the place. He's making bad decisions, he's making bad investments, he's focusing on the cable division, which is a declining industry, and not putting enough focus on, say, the streaming, which is a growing industry. So money's been lost, money's been squandered, money's been shuffled around. But when you come to your flagship show and you make them take the hit, that's suicide.
So I don't understand how he's still CEO. Like, how the board of directors, if he's such a money pit, how have they not pulled the plug on this guy?
Well, I think the thing is it comes down to politics, really, and I don't really want to get into the politics side of it too much, but a lot of it hung on the recent election, and had the Democrats come into power, David Zaslav probably would have been ousted quite soon thereafter. But as we are now in a Republican capitalist type administration going forward, that's kind of up in the air now. And you might find that, you know, it could be possible that Zaslav is just there to gut out HBO for all it's worth and sell it on.
Well, that's really sad.
It is, because this is where politics and capitalism are destroying art.
Yeah. And we're going to move on from that, because that's never a topic that we want to delve too far into.
No, I don't want to get any deeper into that. But those are the facts, people. I just want to keep our listeners in the know, because I think, you know, based on those comments as well, a lot of people were feeling the negatives of this season. And I want to maybe, you know, an informed opinion is always better as far as I'm concerned. So our listeners, I'd like them to know that there is stuff going on behind the scenes that has affected
Absolutely,
the outcome.
But when we get to a point where it's involving politics, I like to take a stance of we're never going to know what the truth is.
Exactly.
So when we get to a point where we say politics is involved, we're just going to cut it there and say, look, guys, you can draw your own conclusions, because we're never going to know the truth.
I'm neither politically inclined nor American, so therefore I do not understand the balance of power over there.
I don't think anybody's ever going to understand. There's too many secrets and lies, cloaks and daggers, and not enough dragons in that situation.
Yes, definitely, and that is the perfect note to end this conversation on. Not enough dragons. So that finally brings us to our final topic, which is Georgie's not a blog post. Let's rewind for a second for those people that don't know what went on there. Not everyone trolls these kind of sites looking for information like I do.
What?
I've got entirely far too much time
on
my
hands. Are you
sure?
You mean you've listened to a 6-hour podcast and you don't know what's going on?
Very good point, Emma. So, the basic gist of it is that George released a blog post in which he criticised some of the choices made in House of the Dragon. It's hard to tell what it is he is specifically angry about. Is it particularly the specific plot points that he mentions in the book? And I think we have to make an announcement now that we're getting into spoilers here. Yeah. One or two might slip out because George let one or two slip out during his post. So the general gist is George, it was titled Beware the Butterflies.
Yeah.
And George was warning against making small changes early on that affect bigger things later down the line that ultimately destroy the plot points, as far as he's concerned.
Yeah.
I think that, to be fair, some of the things that George mentioned as particular plot points were ambiguous in the book. It could have been this, but some people said this happened and some people said that happened. and where it's unclear in the book as to what actually went down in those events. But George has kind of wrote this blog and stated some plot points as if that's what went down. So the basic gist of it is that George went on, and this is, like I said, we're in spoiler section here, people. If you do not want to hear book spoilers, switch off right now. As it stands, I don't think these are TV show spoilers because it looks like they're not happening, which is pretty much the issue. So George was going on about the fact, the blood and cheese scene, that there was one of the 3 children was missing, the younger sibling, Maelor, who's 2 years old. Maelor is not a significant character in the story, except that when he dies, his death is significant.
Yeah.
And because George was told by Ryan when he brought it up, why is Maelor not there? He says, well, we just don't want to cast a kid that young, but we're going to add him in next season. And George went, okay, well, I didn't fight it too hard. So they moved on, and now it's been said that this person is being cut in season 3. Now, this might be for any number of reasons. It could be due to just simplifying the story, because it could be down to these massive budget cuts that have affected the series length. They were supposed to do this in 4 seasons, 10 episodes each. They only got 8 episodes for this season, and they may only get 8 for the next 2. And if they only get 8, then it's going to be a lot harder to tell everything that they wanted to tell. That's 6 episodes off their final count missing.
Yeah.
So maybe they decided to cut this storyline because of the budget restraints. Maybe they decided to cut this storyline because this 2-year-old's death is horrific.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that on screen.
No, I don't need to see that. Thanks very much.
Yeah, for those of you that have read Fire and Blood, you know what we're talking about. This child is ripped apart by a mob. And I don't need to see a 2-year-old ripped apart by a mob. I am that this show can shock me on levels I never thought could. So did Game of Thrones at times, reading those books. Absolutely. The red wedding scene, I was just reading along. What? Flip back 2 pages. What just happened? You know, these books can shock me and have shocked me on so many levels. I don't need to be that shocked.
No.
So if they have chose to cut this because it is horrific, then I'm actually on board with that.
Yeah, like how do you play that out on screen? How do you cast that? And how do you support the actor, the child actor, and their parents through that?
Yeah.
So that's a lot, and actually that costs a lot also.
Yeah.
So no, let's not do that.
I think
if I was in charge, I would say let's not do that. There's another way around it, and also the story. For those of us that have read Fire and Blood, there are 3 different accounts.
Yeah.
So you can pick whatever one you like, but there's an easier route to go down.
Yeah.
I myself have chatted with you and came up with an easier way to go down that road.
We can still have, because I think what George then went on to say was that the events of this are what ultimately trigger Helaena to end her own life.
It can still be done without screenplay being a child being ripped apart.
Exactly. We don't have to see that.
We have imaginations. We can get there through a different route of screenplay.
I think, do you know something even simpler? Just Helaena having had enough of these visions.
Yeah.
That could be enough to make her want to.
She's already lost a child. That could be enough.
Yeah. So George is basically saying that Ryan's outline for season 3 does still have Helaena committing suicide, but for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be for no apparent reason.
No.
I think the writers of House of the Dragon are, what's the word I'm looking for? Competent.
Yeah.
They're competent enough to be able to put together a plausible arc for Helaena to drive her to that place. She's been through a lot.
If they manage to monkey an arc 2 episodes short in a writer's strike, I think they can manage this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. So basically, George's warning is that there may be more butterflies to come with some of the plans that they have for season 3 and 4. It is unclear. He said changes. The word was changes, actually. It's unclear as to whether he means those changes are changes to the episode structure or whether they're changes to the plot.
Do you know, I think it sounds like a communication breakdown.
Oh, definitely.
Like, so...
It's like, you're not answering the phone to me, so I'm going to put a very passive-aggressive post on Facebook so that you see it and then you call me.
Yeah.
And that very much might be what happened there. George was not getting...
the response that he wanted in the time frame that he wanted.
Yeah. So a very public post, which was responded to within 30 minutes, so then he deleted said post.
Yeah.
Maybe got what he wanted after all, or at least got a conversation.
Yeah.
Which I think was the main point. So, all in all, what I want to say is that there's right and wrong on both sides here. I think they are blessed to have George on hand for advice.
Yeah.
And they should appreciate that. Not a lot of book adaptations or people that adapt books have that. They
didn't have that with Lord of the Rings.
No, they didn't. So I think they are blessed to have George on site and they should utilise his input more. But on the other hand, I think there are better ways to go about things than the way George did. Because I get the making a passive-aggressive post to get attention, almost. But the spoilers that came out within that.
What I would say is though that, you know, when we had all the Dan and Dave stuff with Game of Thrones, George never felt the need to do that.
But what leg did he have to stand on? He hadn't finished the source material. And I think that's maybe what's going on here is like, listen, last time I kept my mouth shut, but this time I gave you the frickin' book with all the details and the ending, and you're still going off book.
Yeah.
And so therefore I think that might be part of what pissed him off.
Devil's advocate, is there an element of, well, you let us do it you let it happen with Game of Thrones, so why can't we do it in a very minor way with Fire and Blood?
Well, let's face it, Fire and Blood is dry and factual and unemotional.
Yeah.
And a TV show needs to be the opposite of all those things.
Yeah, you need character connection.
Yeah. So that is the job of Ryan and Ty Mickle and Sarah Hess, etc. are all, you know, trying to make these characters blossom in front of us and live and breathe instead of just names on a page. And there's nothing wrong with the way George writes the Fire and Blood. There's nothing wrong. It's
no, in
really
fairness to
clever.
George, I think, honestly, the way he wrote, particularly Alicent, really connected with that character. She was wonderful. Jaehaerys as well.
Yeah.
Like, really, really fantastically written. And although it was dead factual, I love those characters.
Definitely.
I would love to see a spin-off of Jaehaerys and Alicent. And I know it's dead boring because
nothing really happened, but just a little love story.
But can we have it
can we make like a rom-com?
Can we have like a soap, like Neighbours, but it's just Jaehaerys and Alicent in their whole life?
Yeah.
Can we have that?
Yeah, because their kids are drama, like any soap character. Well, their kids are like proper soap characters.
Yeah, can we have that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. So I don't think I've really got anything else to say on George. But while we're talking about characters that you fall in love with, staying in spoilers, by the way, people, we're still in spoilers here. If you weren't worried about news spoilers and you kind of wanted a wee snippet, but you don't want to be completely spoiled on what's coming next, now is the time to leave. So let's talk about some of the things that were changed in this season that have had a massive impact on the fandom. And maybe the way the story's going to develop, because these weren't points that George mentioned in his blog, but they're certainly observed by the fandom.
Yeah.
So let's start with Nettles.
I'm sorry, Nettles who? Rude. She's not in the show at all.
I know. There was, I did point out during the Red Sowing
that there was a character boarding the boats that kind of looked like she could be a Nettles.
Yeah.
But we did not see her on Dragonstone. I don't know if this character was maybe about to be cast, but then they decided to cut her because they cut these 2 episodes. But let's just say if Nettles is going to appear in the show, they better bring her in the first 5 minutes in the next episode because she's in the next fight.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's the fact that what is going on with Rhaenyra. Like, so Nettles is supposed to be the rider, the sheep stealer. And when we last see Rhaenyra, she's face to face with this dragon. To be fair, she has not claimed that dragon yet.
No, but, you know,
it's looking inevitable though, isn't it? So unless Nettles pops out from behind a rock with a sheep in her hand to feed sheep stealer in the next scene, I don't think we're getting a Nettles.
No.
And the fandom are not happy about this. And I don't think I'm very happy about this, to be honest with you, because... Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. I firmly believe that Nettles is Leaf from Game of Thrones. Nettles is Leaf, the child of the forest that was with Bran in the cave. Leaf said that she wandered the realms of men for 200 years in the time of the dragon. The way Nettles is described could almost be like a child of the forest. The way Nettles just disappears with her dragon when she's had enough of the war and just never to be heard from again.
Is she not meant to be Daemon's bastard daughter, though?
Well, it's speculated. See, this is the thing. In the book, it's either speculated she might be his bastard daughter or she might be his lover. I think she's neither. I think she's just his friend. I think they have a connection. Maybe there is a little love story there, possibly. But
is she a child of the forest and he's a green seer? Is that what that is?
See, this is where the other thing, because if we come back to the whole theory that I can't let go of, is that Daemon does not die at the God's Eye. Daemon is rescued by Nettles and taken north beyond the wall, or possibly to the Isle of Faces. And he is the green seer before bloodraven. That is my theory. It's also Grey Area's theory. I think Grey Waste Tim's backing it up on this one. It makes sense to me. And it makes sense to me because at the start of Fire and Blood, George Martin changed Daemon's great-grandmother from half Velaryon and Targaryen to half Targaryen and half Massey.
Okay.
That would be House Massey of Sharp Point that we just saw Aemond destroy. So that would make them first men, and that would make Daemon have first men blood, and all the Targaryens from that point onwards, to be honest with you, would have Targaryen blood, would have first men blood, which means greenseer blood. So that is my theory, and if they are cutting which really messes with my head because of what they've just done with Daemon. What they've just done with Daemon has enriched that theory for me. And yet cutting Nettles has kind of ruined that theory for me at the same time. And I just don't know whether I'm coming or going. And maybe they've done that on purpose because they don't want to give that away in season 2. That's maybe a season 3 or maybe even season 4 reveal. It could very well be, but it's got me spinning. I just don't know what to think. And I want Nettles. I want to know what went on with her and Daemon. I want to know, well, we'll never know what George was thinking unless George tells us. But George could tell Ryan and Ryan could make it happen.
Yeah, I think that communication breakdown's failing there.
Yeah, I mean, there is the perspective that the argument is more with the production team of House of the Dragon as opposed to Ryan specifically. I don't think his problems with Ryan specifically. I mean, George handpicked Ryan for this role. So I'd like to believe that they're still friends.
I've handpicked exes and friends that I no longer talk to. So
I handpicked all my boyfriends, and that wasn't a good choice.
Sorry if any of my exes are listening, but you know, you were there.
She's not sorry.
You were there, you know. So yeah, just to conclude on the Rhaenyra side of things there, like, they've made a lot out of a character who plays a very small part in this part of the story.
Yeah.
She, I'm surprised that, I suppose if whoever, these people that are adapting Fire and Blood, they've decided that Nettles is Daemon's daughter, not his lover, his daughter. They've decided that they're going down that route because it is open to interpretation, this book. So they've decided they're going down that route and they decided daughter. And then they thought, well, why cast another daughter when we have another daughter doing nothing?
Yeah.
She's still the worst babysitter ever.
She is, but I really like the actress.
I like her, yeah.
And I like the way that she plays the character.
Yeah.
I love her wee face.
Yeah.
She has the best facial expressions. And I just love that moment where she sees Sheep Stealer and she's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
She does act it really well. I really like that girl.
A lot of running.
Yeah, it was a lot of running. It was, yeah, no, she was really good. And although we are really missing Nettles,
She had 9
and that
minutes of screen time throughout the whole season.
doesn't feel like it.
No, it doesn't. It felt like a lot more.
Yeah.
But it was 9 minutes, and at least 2 minutes of that was running.
A lot of good face acting.
Yes. I like her. I am not against them adapting this down that way as long as they do something cool with Rhaenyra.
Look, when we first started this, I was so pissed off about the Rhaenyra and Alicent situation and the way that they'd adapted it.
Yeah.
However, as it's progressed, the arc between their relationship, or the arc of their relationship,
and the relationship between the actors.
100%. And what I've come to understand within myself is it's not the book, this is the show.
Yes.
They're two completely different canons. Get over it, Emma. And I'm over it. And I'm enjoying the show for being the show.
Yeah.
I'm not George. I didn't write it. I support George. Love you, George.
Yeah.
It's your art and that's cool. But this is also Ryan's art. And George, let that be Ryan's art.
Yeah.
And he's really running with it and he's doing such a great job. And that's my stance on it. So
I think it is. I think they've done some amazing things, like making Helaena a dreamer.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
Even George loves that. George thinks that's great, right? And it is. It's genius.
You can't, love the great bits and then be a massive, massive hater.
Do you know what? Here's another thing. In Fire and Blood, Daemon's a bit rebellious and a bit of a problem. And then he suddenly turns around and he's on Rhaenyra's side 100%. And there's no explanation for it. They just gave us an explanation for it.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a castrate, it was an arc.
Yeah, it was. And I love the Ryan and Sarah and that have got to, because it's mostly Ryan and Sarah that are conferring their little collabers.
I love Geeta's episodes.
Yeah, Geeta's a fantastic director. She's really good.
Actually, my favourite episodes are Alan Taylor episodes.
Alan Taylor is absolutely fabulous. Let's not forget Alan. He was brilliant. Great director. But Sarah and Ryan have done most of the writing and most of the development of these characters and come up with these ideas. And what they chose to do with Daemon, how did Daemon get from there to there? I think they maybe overdid it a little bit. We're talking about episode 5 again. But overall, I think it was they gave us an explanation for why Daemon sort of turns around.
Devil's Advocate of episode 5, I would just like to point out, it is actually the one that we've referenced more than any other.
Yeah.
Although negatively, we have still referenced it.
Yes, we have.
You know.
There's obviously some things in that stood out.
Are we moving towards a conclusion?
Yes.
Before all our listeners have died of old age?
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts on that?
Nope. No, I'm done.
Well, I got one more.
Yep.
I got one more.
Aegon thinks his dragon's dead.
Ah, yes. Well, are we going show canon or book canon? What we're doing here?
Well, this is it. I mean...
Dude, your dragon's not dead. Oh, shit, it's the show. It might be.
Well, that's it. It's like, are the show going down this road? Because if they make that change...
How the fuck does Rhaenyra die?
Frickin' butterfly.
Yeah.
Because, as Joffrey already told us...
Yep.
Rhaenyra was roasted by Sunfire. Sunfire, a very broken dragon, by all accounts, at the time. But the way it is in the book is the dragon is just still at Rook's Rest. He's just injured and can't fly and is they're holed up in the woods somewhere recovering. And some men get sent to try and take this dragon down, and it doesn't go very well. A lot of people die.
Maybe we'll see that in season 4. Maybe this is something that's being kept.
I think so. This is the surprise. Yeah. Because at this point, this dragon flies off and is never really heard from again until towards the end of the story.
Yeah.
When we've realised that this dragon has been reunited with Aegon.
I really hope that none of our listeners have like fallen asleep and then woken up at this point and been like, what the fuck, you dicks, you've just given away the end of season 4.
Sorry. Damn it,
I missed the point when I turned off the spoilers.
Yeah. Is what it is. Sorry, not sorry. So anyway, yeah, so this dragon is not dead. It can't be dead.
No.
It just can't be. But we are...
No, that is a worse butterfly than Little Maegor. Like,
yeah,
that can't happen.
That just can't. It would just ruin the plot completely. Yeah. The only other way around it would be for Aegon to claim a second dragon.
No.
And there's only one available. And that's the cannibal.
Well, no, after that it would be Helena's dragon, because Helaena would have...
Yeah, there's Dreamfire if Helena's dead, I suppose.
Yeah.
There could be Dreamfire. There could be a way for them to write Dreamfire. And oh no, I don't want to think about that. Please don't do that. No.
It's not going to happen that way.
It's not.
I've just given away. I've just solved the end of the whole thing. That's how that happens.
It just can't. Yeah.
I've given away.
It's going to be a nice surprise and maybe a little flashback. Yeah. Because that's the way it's written. It's written like, oh, there's a dragon. And yeah, there's a little story about some fishermen who saw 2 dragons fighting on the beach not that long ago. Described the dragons, and the dragons fitted the description of Sunfire and Grey Ghost, the other wild dragon.
I think they'll do Sheep Stealer instead of Grey Ghost.
You think Sheep Stealer and Sunfire are going to have the fight?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because if they're not doing the Nettles thing where Nettles flies away with the Sheep Stealer.
Yes. That's how I think they're going to play it out.
And that way they don't have to create another new dragon.
Yep.
So they can cheap out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if I was trying to make some budget cuts, that might be the way to go.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's bleak.
No, it's not. Glass is half full, dude.
One less dragon
it's
to
still
see.
A dragon fight. It's awesome.
Yeah, it will be cool. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Was there any other spoilery related things that we forgot to mention?
Not that I can think of.
Off the top of my head, no. I'll probably come up with them in editing because we'll have mentioned them early on and we'll just save that for spoilers. We'll have forgotten all about them. But for now, I'm going to say that's it. So, pulling ourselves back to the last 2 episodes that we've just watched. Episode 7, favourite scene. Going to be the dragon stuff for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. My favourite scene, I'm going to go with Oscar Tully.
Okay.
Favourite performance?
Episode 7?
Episode 7.
Rhaenyra with Vermithor.
Oh, that was cool. That was cool. Yeah, she was all kinds of scary in those scenes.
Yeah, that was her turning point.
Definitely. Right, episode 8. Favourite scene?
Daemon and Rhaenyra at Harrenhal. Favourite scene.
That was cool.
It was.
It was. It gave me all kind of goosebumps.
My favourite scene from that episode. Who am I kidding? It was the Green Man. It was the Green Man. Definitely, without a doubt. Favourite performance?
Oh, from episode 8?
Yeah.
It was Alicent with Rhaenyra.
Yeah, she was pretty powerful, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Rhaenyra with Alicent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great scene, wasn't it?
It was beautifully written, beautifully acted. There was a couple of clunky moments, but I'm going to put that down to writer's issues, writer strikes issues. But overall,
actually, favourite part of that scene is the visual, which I mentioned before, of Alicent being free, looking out over a landscape, and Rhaenyra being pigeoned in those little diamond boxes.
Yeah.
Yep, loved that shot. It was
that was
absolutely
a really cool shot, actually.
Brilliant.
I think my favourite part of that scene would be... Oh, just go then.
Yeah.
Just that. It was delivered so well by Emma. It was really good.
Not me.
I really felt it. I really felt it in that moment. So, last and final question before we wrap this up. Who's winning the war?
Who's winning right now? The Blacks are winning right now.
You think?
Yeah.
I would say that right up until the last minute that I felt like the Blacks were finally winning. You know, they were going for a couple of baby dragons to 7 and a couple of them are badass.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, the Blacks were definitely starting to win. But I think the introduction of the triarchy is a variable that is definitely going to rock the boat. And it definitely puts the Greens in a stronger position than they were in 5 minutes before that.
It does, but their cockless king is fleeing with the cripple.
Yeah.
At the moment, their Queen Dowager and Queen...
The Adventures of Clubfoot and Egg.
Yeah. Their Queen Dowager has just invited Rhaenyra to come in and take the throne from their queen.
Yeah.
All signs point to Team Black winning.
Yeah. Certainly on paper, Team Black have the absolute advantage. What was that?
That was your fridge having a fit.
Oh God, I need a new fridge.
Rude.
Right, so it certainly points towards Team Black having all the advantage. But the triarchy are definitely have added some strength to the Greens at this stage.
Yeah.
But only time will tell because this is an adaptation.
Yep.
And it could go anyway. And I'm on board for the whole ride. I don't care what they change, how they change it. I'm going to be disappointed about some things as they change them. But as long as they do what they do well, then I'm on board for the ride. And as long as they don't change it too much, like Rhaenyra dying in a completely different way.
Yeah.
That would be, too much of a change for me.
Yes.
But I'm happy and you're happy. And we are looking forward to 2 years down the line for the next season. But in the meantime, we have The Adventures of Dunkinegg.
Woo!
And that brings us to... Oh, this is the part where we normally say what our next episode's going to be, but we don't have one. Our next episode will be in late 2025 with the episode 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But in the meantime, you can check us out on YouTube.
If you want to contact us, you can head over to our website at theunrealhour.com, where you can find links to our social media and Patreon to review, like, follow and subscribe. You can also leave us a voice message that we may use on the show. Finally, you can email us at talk@theunrealhour.com.
And if you like what we're doing here and you want to support the show, then you can visit patreon.com/theunrealhour, where you can subscribe for ad-free listening, early access episodes and exclusive content. Or you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/theunrealhour. All of your donations will go back into the show to cover costs and keep the lights on. Once again, thanks for listening. Until next time,
keep it unreal.